As someone who possesses extraordinary abilities, it would be easy for me to become disillusioned with humanity. I have seen the worst that people can do, and it would be easy to conclude that we are not worth saving. But I refuse to give in to that kind of thinking. I've seen the worst of what humanity can do. I've seen them tear each other apart, destroy the world they live in, and hurt the people they love. But I've also seen the glimmer of hope, the possibility of redemption. I know that there are people out there who are worth fighting for. People who are struggling to make a difference, who are trying to make the world a better place.
This heroic act is just the latest in a long line of feats by the Man of Steel.
And moments ago, he was seen rescuing a group of civilians from a burning building.
They're the reason I keep going. The reason I keep fighting. Even when it seems like there's no hope left. They are the reason Jor-El sent me here. They are the reason I am Superman.
You will learn to fear me, Kryptonian.
Welcome, everybody, to tonight's episode of the Apass and ZodWriter show, the ZodWriter and Apass show, the ZodWriter show, whatever you want to call it. We are here, and I had to open up the show with the AI-generated Man of Tomorrow, Man of Steel 2 teaser because it gets me hyped up. It gets me pumped up.
Yes. Yeah. And I was, as much as I hate that it's AI, it's kind of like, tell me why an AI generated trailer, Mr. J, hello.
Mr. J.
Gets me more hyped than anything that Colonel Sanders announces, including in casting of his Superman and Lois Lane.
Well, nothing against fried chicken, okay? I love fried chicken. It's great. But I'm not really a big fan of original recipe. And Colonel Sanders has an original recipe that's a little bit sour. And I don't know how you make chicken sour, Apass. That's what I've been trying to figure out. I mean, I've had some bizarre different types of chicken. When I was a kid and I went to summer camp, we had a chef who would do fried chicken, but he would do it in a certain way where he would put cinnamon coating in the chicken. It was the most bizarre tasting fried chicken I ever had, but it wasn't bad. And that was more, that cinnamon fried chicken was more original than anything James Gunn, aka Colonel Sanders, can ever come up with. So I'm gonna, I'm with you. I'm with you on that. I'm just totally trying to figure this all out because honestly, Apass, we watched that trailer and there's just something about it that grabs you, whether it's Henry Cavill's voice, whether it's the still shots that are being used, whether it's Superman flying at the end. I mean, even the the video game, the PlayStation 3 Dark Side at the end didn't offend me because it was all generated on the fly. So it's just kind of like, if you were able to come up with that in, however many minutes, I mean, imagine what a full film would look like.
It's like, I don't know. it's like, it's hard for me to imagine, but I'm sure it will happen. You know what I mean? Like someone will make a fan film using AI. So.
And Mr. Jates is telling us, make an AI trailer about Colonel Sanders selling chicken. I might look into that, Mr. J. I might look into that and have that for one of Apass and my upcoming streams. I might look into that because that would be interesting. That would be
That
interesting.
would be very interesting. Yeah,
It's
for sure.
definitely possible. I mean, I mean, this. I mean, like, listen, it's so funny to me how Warner Brothers, okay, is in such a dire position right now with the things that they're doing, the things that they're going through. And I read an article earlier about some sort of explosion at Warner Brothers headquarters. I mean, maybe James Gunn burnt the chicken. I don't know. Hopefully everybody's okay. Maybe
Right.
it
Yeah.
was
Well,
maybe it was maybe it was an intern that left the coffee pot on or something. I don't know what happened, but
the world may never know.
yeah, we're never gonna find out. But already I've started to see people on social media making snide remarks, blaming the Zack Snyder fandom, making it seem like it was some sort of bizarre, incident where the Snyder fandom is so mad that they want to go and attack the Warner Brothers headquarters, which I think is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in
Ludicrous.
my life.
It's ludicrous.
What's up, Charles? Good to see you, man. How's everything going? Mr. J says extra sour.
A little tardy. Yeah.
Tardy. I'm sitting here like, my God, it's got to be horrible. And he probably uses like some bizarre sour cream mix for his chicken too. There's kind of this weird milk marinade of some sort. Showcast, how's everything going? No, you know what, Showcast? We Apass and I coordinate our streams very well together. So when we set it up that we're going to do a stream, unless one of us is unavailable or ill or whatever, we try to stick to the time that we set up. I definitely, because I don't like competing with, my friends in the YouTube space, but we have to stream when we can stream because people have schedules. Things are different. Things are difficult. It's not always easy to do, and this is why the ZodWriter show is me and Apass. So we stream together when we can, and we try to, stick to that schedule. And it's great. It works out. Works out for us. Let's see. The KFCU, yes, absolutely. The KFCU. It's that's exactly what it is. The KFCU, and it's all cheap. It's all cheap. It's all on a budget. It's all low quality trash. Now, speaking of low quality trash, there's a word in front of my head right now. You can't make this stuff up. This is perfect. My thumbnail was flop or success, and my picture is over the word success, and you see the flash behind me in Apass, and you see the word flop up top. I couldn't have written it any better.
God works in mysterious ways.
Oh my God. I'm sitting here right now thinking about it, how on our last show, how you and I, we were completely honest, and we were like bearing our souls over this movie. And we weren't attacking anybody who liked the movie or were big fans of the movie. I know we've got some friends out there that are big fans of the movie. I know Necron and Austin and Syl and Skywalker. They're all big fans of the Flash movie. They loved it. They were able to overlook some of the flaws that you and I just quite frankly said it wasn't good enough.
Yeah. I mean, we weren't trying to, like you said, we weren't trying to insult anybody that liked the Flash. We also just wanted to be completely and totally honest about how we felt about it. Because, I mean, when I was watching it, I was literally having feelings that were reminiscent of when I saw Justice League. I gotta be honest. I'm not saying that it's on that level quality-wise, but I have to be honest about how I felt while watching it. It's definitely a better film than Justice League, but it's just it's
It
yeah.
has those vibes, and I really, it just, I have to agree with you 100%. It's like, I get what they were going for, and
Yeah.
maybe a difference in editing. Well, editing makes a lot of difference, and not to jump topics, but I just want to touch on this right now while we're talking about editing. I was talking to
Mhm.
Apass before the show, and I have the Schumacher cut of Batman Forever in script form. Okay,
So cool.
as people know, there is an online campaign to get the Schumacher cut, the Joel Schumacher original version of Batman Forever. This is that entire cut of the movie, and it is a vastly superior film to the one to the Batman Forever that was released. And I won't go into spoilers. Maybe when Warner Brothers announces that they're finally going to release it, we could talk about it a little more on stream. But what I will
Yeah.
say is that it's a better movie than The Flash. Okay, and I just want to point that out. Batman Forever, that came out in 1995, is a better movie than The Flash. At least the cut that we got of The Flash.
Yeah.
And that's kind of disheartening to me a little bit. I had high hopes for The Flash. I expected it to be
Same.
a better movie than what we got, and I get what they were going for. And I don't argue with my friends and my peers who say, but Zod, it's in the Snyderverse. It's Snyderverse is canon to this movie. I don't disagree with that. I
No,
believe
it is.
Snyderverse is canon to this movie. Absolutely.
100% it is. Yeah.
However, there are elements from the movie, because this is a multiverse film. There are elements from the movie that make it that there are some justice elements within this movie. And anybody who says that there isn't didn't watch this movie. They didn't watch the movie. They didn't pay attention to the details. I paid attention to the details. Now I know Apass, you and I talked about it, and neither one of us had any desire to go back and watch the movie a second time. So I'm going to ask you honestly, did you go back and watch The Flash a second time?
I didn't.
I did not
Mm-mm.
either.
And even if I did have time, I don't know if I would.
I
I
would
don't.
go see something else. I honestly,
Yeah.
like I was thinking about maybe going to the movies this weekend and maybe watching Indiana Jones, because that's another movie that's getting some very lopsided reviews based on the people that you listen to. Some people are telling you that it's good. Some people are telling you that it completely sucks. Some people are telling you that it's going to be the downfall of Lucasfilm and Disney. It's a huge, to say it's divisive is an
Yeah.
understatement. Like The Flash. The Flash is a divisive film.
Yeah. Yeah, it is. And I mean, going back to Indiana Jones, it's kind of all like the fact that it is so divisive, it's giving me like Last Jedi sort of vibes.
That's where I'm getting scared,
Yeah.
because I watched
Mhm.
this woman do a review, and I can't remember her name right now off the top of my head, but she's really cool. When she doesn't like a movie, she does reviews. She drinks shots while she's doing her review to illustrate just how badly, shots of vodka to illustrate just how badly, the movie let her down. And she
Mhm.
drank during her review of Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. I watched it today, and she was talking about it, and she made a lot of statements that got me really, really nervous. Apass. I was like, my God, for me, it's Raiders of the Lost Ark, Temple of Doom, and The Last Crusade. I wasn't the biggest fan in the world of the Crystal Skull. That's not really, I mean, I didn't hate Crystal Skull like a lot of people did, but I didn't love it either.
Yeah, it was
But
kind of meh.
yeah,
It was meh.
but from what I'm hearing about this one, I'm hearing a lot of people echo the words boring and talking about it being colorless, which is something I really don't like because Indiana
Why is that a
Jones
critique?
films are colorful. Indiana Jones films are shot really well and are usually are just eye popping off the screen. So
Yeah.
I'm getting a little nervous when I hear words like that because it's like, well, what kind of a movie are we talking about here? I don't know. But
No, yeah. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely one of those things again, like like you have to see it for yourself in order to have an opinion.
yeah,
I'm kind of like, even though he didn't do himself any favors, I kind of wish that Shia LaBeouf was in it in a way as like a continuing sort of because he was from at least for me, like I thought he did for what he was given in Crystal Skull, like
yeah.
it would have been nice.
I didn't hate him in the movie. I thought he was pretty good in Crystal Skull.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, I agree with you. Again, Apass, right on point as always. Yeah, I completely agree with you.
I
But
mean, it only makes sense. It's his son, so you would
right,
think that they
right,
would.
and we know
I don't know.
we know that from stuff that's been said about it already that he is not. Of course, he is not in the film.
No.
So yeah. But again, the word above my head, flop, I think is going to be all encompassing for a lot of these movies. I think we're gonna see that. Yeah, you're seeing that for Flash. I think you're gonna see that for Indiana Jones. I think there's gonna be, it has just been the summer of flops, I guess. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward to. Oh my, I can't wait for Oppenheimer. And
yeah.
honestly, I'm excited. I want to see the Barbie movie actually, which I didn't think I would want to see it, but I think I will give it a chance
When I was
actually.
sold on the Barbie movie when I saw the most recent trailer before the Flash.
Yes.
I was sold.
Yes,
When I was sitting in the theater, I'm like, this actually looks like it's going to be pretty interesting.
yeah, it's not going to just be like they're going to make it interesting, Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's not going to just be
I,
generic
I'm hoping I'm hoping there's a lot of, like like psychological bizarreness and things in it that's going to mess with your mind, and that it's going to have some meta elements and some things that are really going to touch the audience. That's what I'm
Yeah.
hoping for Barbie. And I think we might get that. I think, you never know. So, I mean, the fact that they're making one they made this movie at all, and of course Oppenheimer.
Mhm.
I mean, they've been advertising Oppenheimer for like the last 5 years, so it's
I know.
finally coming out.
I know. I can't wait for it. Like, I mean, I Christopher Nolan, he's just incredible. But yeah.
Yeah, and
But
Graphic Vandalism wants to know: Are they making a whole movie for that trailer? No, that was made through AI, through a couple of different AI programs, Midjourney, some voice cloning for Henry Cavill, some other things. I don't think that it'll be. I think we're a few years away from a full feature
movie.
film. I would say
Yeah.
probably. My guess would be about maybe 2.5 years before we get that, because and I'm going off of the rate that AI is just like overtaking everything. So, I mean, if you would have asked me this a few months ago, I might have said, well, maybe in about 5 years, but I'm leaning more towards like the next couple. Like within 2 years, we should be able to get a full Man of Steel sequel through AI, which judging from the way things have been going, I mean, that's probably a pretty sure way that we'll get it. Fans will just be going on AI requesting their own Man of Steel sequels.
Unless #sell doesn't happen, but I have a great feeling about that.
Oh yeah, I have a great feeling
Yeah.
about Cell as
Yeah.
well. I think we're on the cusp of that. I think that will happen. I mean, we could talk about that a little bit too. Gal Gadot sort of dropping hints that there's Wonder Woman stuff being worked on behind the scenes. She's got this, very, very chummy and positive relationship going on with Netflix right now. They all do. If you think about it, Henry Cavill, Gal Gadot, Ben Affleck, they've all
Jason
Momoa,
had
they've all been involved in big Netflix projects within the last 5 years.
Yes. Yes.
So
And-
and not to mention that Zack Snyder himself is over at Netflix doing big things. So and again, Netflix is broke. So I don't. I mean, not Netflix. Warner Brothers. Why did I say Netflix?
Yeah, Warner Brothers. Yeah.
Warner Brothers is broke. Warner Brothers Discovery is broke. I know somebody's going to clip that and be like, "See, even Zod said Netflix is broke." But no, it really is. It really is that bad. And I'll play a clip that I released. I'll play a clip that I released on Twitter not too long ago from my book, Pause Not Stopped.
I love those clips, by the
Netflix.
way.
Yeah, how do you feel about those? I mean, are those going over well? I know I got a lot of haters, so it's hard for me to tell how they're really doing for people.
I mean, I may be your co-host and friend, but I love hearing those clips from your book. Like, it makes me excited to read it. And I mean, there's probably just like a wealth of like information in there that I'm not even aware of, so I can't wait to read it.
Well, I appreciate that. And like I told you, you're going to be one of the first people, that I give the full book to so that you can read it, because I'm going to want to know what you think, you and a few others. And I'm going to want to get that base feedback from people that I really trust and like to talk to, so that I know, because, my whole thing is I don't care what the general audience really thinks. I'm going for a very, very positive book. And I want people to understand that the book has to be positive, and I have to be objective, whether or not, I like certain people or not. And that was one of the criticisms that I received earlier. Somebody had said, well, your book is just going to be a bunch of, non-factual information, and you basically attacking the people you don't like and praising the people you do like. And that's not what I'm going for. And there was an incident that happened with our movie news, respectively, earlier, where I had paraphrased him incorrectly on something he said. And I went back and watched his video and, realized that I had paraphrased him incorrectly, because I was in the heat of the moment. I was mad at him for what he said, and I didn't really think about it. And when I wrote about it and put it in the book, I paraphrased him incorrectly because I was mad at him. So what I did was I went back and took my feelings out of it, because facts don't care about feelings. I took my feelings out of it, went in there and listened to actually sat there and listened to what he said. And when I got what he said, I actually was able to quote him correctly. So I will play those clips as well. I think what I'm going to do right now, just real briefly, I'm going to play the clip with regards to the Cell movement, which I think is very important. So let's try to run this.
Social media is filled with people fighting against the Cell ZSJL to Netflix Cell Snyderverse to Netflix movement solely on the basis of personally disliking the people who started it. The criticisms and arguments against it being a legitimate path forward are outright delusional at worst and paper-thin at best. The most common excuse among them is, Warner Brothers would never do that with such well-known intellectual properties. If they wanted the Snyderverse to continue, they would do it themselves. The truth is, nearly 2 years before Warner Media decided to release the Snyder Cut, Netflix inquired about purchasing the rights, not just for what would become Zack Snyder's Justice League, but Batman v Superman, Ultimate Edition, Man of Steel, and David Ayer's unreleased director's cut of Suicide Squad. Netflix saw unlimited potential in the story their frequent collaborator Zack Snyder is telling, and they wanted, and still do, to be a part of it. Warner Media refused the undisclosed offered amount of money on the grounds that they allegedly had in-house plans for those properties. At the time of this writing, the debate rages on among fans and haters about if #Cell is a viable option for the Snyderverse. The big difference this time around is that Warner Bros. Discovery is broke and therefore open to licensing IPs that they were protective of just years prior. Netflix acquiring the Snyderverse is more of a potential eventuality than a what-if scenario, and no matter what hashtags people support individually, they should be extremely excited for this possibility.
Okay, so that's a clip. That was the most recent clip that I released from the book, and I have plans to release clips, up until the actual release of the book, which I hope will be. I'm hoping that it'll be released by the end of next year. That's what I'm going for, end of 2024. But it's going to be, for those that have asked, I have plans for it to be in print, digital, and an audio book. And that AI generated audio, that voice, that British voice that sounds really, really velvety and easy to listen to, is the voice you will hear when you listen to the audiobook. These clips are literally being generated directly from the book as I have time to do them, and I put them out, and then they're all part of the audiobook. So the audiobook will be, I think the audiobook will probably be the first way that it's released, so that everybody has a chance to listen to it, and if they want, and then the printed version and the hardcover version and the digital version. So there's a lot of plans for it. And there's also some stuff there's some stuff going on behind the scenes. I've been in communication with some people with regards to possibly making it into a documentary. So that's something else that we're looking into as well. Yeah. So there's a lot of things going on with Pause Not Stopped. And I definitely want to get the book out to everyone, but it's like we're in a very fluid situation right now, and it's a very interesting time with the whole Cell campaign ramping up, and I want to see where that goes before I end the book. I'm trying to remain optimistic, but there's stuff that's happening daily, weekly, and it's just making it very, very, and we could talk a little bit now about the idea of flop. Okay. And then the way that Warner Brothers is trying to deflect away from the Flash flopping by announcing the cast of Superman and Lois for James Gunn's upcoming Superman Legacy.
They just never learn, do they? Whoever they hire for their marketing and like PR, they should all get fired. I don't get it. Don't get it. But
I don't get it either. I don't get it. That is the official tagline of our show. I don't get it.
Don't get it.
We're gonna do, Apass and I are gonna design a T-shirt for that, and we'll do the whole AFSP Ink to the People thing. Maybe we'll talk to Leon and Sky and Necron and Austin, and maybe we'll try to see if we could tie it in with the Cell movement, with the Cell hashtag. I don't know.
Yeah,
but I'm sitting here right now thinking about where we are, and I'm just saying, they had to have been pretty desperate to have rushed that out.
Yeah, the way that it was done too, it was just like, oh my God.
This is a movie that's not scheduled to come out until 2025. All right. We're talking, I think it's July 11th, 2025, if I'm not mistaken, or July 15th or something. It's the birthday, isn't it? James Gunn's late father's birthday.
Supposedly, allegedly.
Yeah, allegedly. But we don't know, because he lies about everything. So we can't really be sure if it's even true, because you know, I had heard some stuff before that he doesn't even have a good relationship with didn't have a good relationship with his father, and had to actually be reminded, hey, it was Dad's birthday today or something, by his brother. I guess his brother, who plays the Weasel in the Suicide Squad. So I don't know. Again, I don't. It's James Gunn's fault that the Flash is doing as bad as it is. Because I'm going to be honest with you, as much as critical as I am of this Flash movie, I don't think it deserves to be flopping.
No, it definitely doesn't. Definitely not.
I mean, it has all of those elements that should essentially please the general audience. I mean, it's got all that, while people are stuffing their faces with popcorn and laughing every 30 seconds, the Flash has all of that. Okay, this is the type of movie that should have the Marvel crowd on fire.
But I think this also speaks to Disney/Marvel fatigue to a certain extent. And also the fact that DC, and I get that the Flash, the character himself, is supposed to be comical, compared to the other superheroes, but the way that it was done to be Marvel-fied in some of the humorous moments, it's just it doesn't work for DC. It just doesn't. When it's subtle, like natural humor, like Zach does in his movies, it works so well. Whereas if you have like quippy, like immature humor every 5 seconds, it just doesn't do it for me, at least. I don't know.
Right. And when people were saying, but Zod, Apass, it's very natural humor. Natural humor? Are you high? They were deliberately going for laughs every chance they got. Every single powerful, emotional moment in the movie was followed up by some ridiculous gag that was designed to make people laugh. They did not, it was not, you couldn't even get a chance to feel the full emotional weight of the scenes between Flash and his mom. Okay, which I thought those scenes were very well
beautiful
done. They were touching scenes. If I had to rate anything in the movie that I thought was great, those were the scenes that were great. That's what I'm saying. There's good stuff in here. You just got to dig through a bunch of
through it all.
Yeah, in order to find it. And my thing is, this is why I want to see Muschietti's director's cut, because I think that he probably gave us a better movie, just like Joel Schumacher did with Batman Forever. And I don't think it's fair that these directors are constantly having to compromise on their visions at the behest of these greedy studios that obviously don't know what audiences want to see. Because if this movie was meant for the general audience, and Apass, you and I can both agree that this movie speaks to the general audience. It's the type of movie that a general casual audience would enjoy very, very much. So if you're not a big nerd and a big fan of this kind of stuff like we are, where you're deep into the lore, you're going to love this movie. This is what this movie was for. This is who this movie was for. So they were definitely appealing to normies, as they like to call them, the general audience. So if this movie couldn't make money and they couldn't put butts in the seats when they made a movie that was straight up for the general audience, and they definitely said F you to the hardcore fans. They definitely stuck their middle finger up at Snyder a few times. But the thing I don't get is what makes them think that anything else that they're planning to do along those lines is going to be even more it's going to be even more popular. In other words, what makes them think that James Gunn's ideas for Superman Legacy are going to succeed after this?
They must be smoking some good stuff over there, man. Because I don't know. I don't know how they can justify that his ideas are gonna somehow break the bank for them. I mean, it just I don't know. Unless we are like proven wrong 2 years from now when Superman Legacy premieres. I mean, I don't see that movie breaking $1 billion. I'm sorry, I just don't.
You know, and I love how David Cornsweet, who was cast as Superman, Clark Kent, said that he loves Henry Cavill's take on Superman, but that it was he loves his dark take on the character, but he wants to be the more hopeful and optimistic version of Superman. And I scoff at those words because you were getting that with Henry Cavill.
It's called a hero's journey.
Exactly.
A hero's freaking journey. Like,
yes. I'm
sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. I'm sorry.
No. That's perfect. That's exactly how I felt about it. I felt the same way you did. And we were both very animated when we read that quote. Because here's the thing. All right. If you take what he says at face value, who are you making these movies for? If you can't understand the evolution that Zack Snyder was taking Henry Cavill's Superman from Man of Steel to Zack Snyder's Justice League and beyond, if you can't understand the direction he was going with Superman, I don't know what to tell you. At this point, you'll
never get it then.
You're never going to get it. You're never going to understand that Superman has to grow into the hopeful and optimistic figure that we all know and love. He didn't just fall off the ship as a child being hopeful and optimistic. You have to grow into that. You have to be able to look. Superman as a character has to be able to look beyond the ugliness of humanity, to be able to find the path and to reconcile all of that, to be able to rise above it literally and say, I'm going to be hopeful and optimistic no matter what. And that is what Zack Snyder was giving us. Again, like you said, the hero's journey.
Yes. And him, Christopher Nolan, David Goyer, like with Man of Steel, that's exactly what they were going for. And they made Superman interesting. You know what I mean? Like they made him not as one-dimensional as, I'm sorry, Christopher Reeve fans, I'm sorry, but in my opinion, those movies, even though I get that Richard Donner wanted to take Superman in a more serious direction with the sequel.
Yeah, Donner was very praised.
Same with Christopher Reeves, right?
Yeah, Christopher Reeves wanted Superman to go darker too. And if you actually look at, there was an actual comic run that Richard Donner did not too long ago, where he actually got to take Superman in a little bit of a darker direction. It was a whole, rematch with General Zod and everything, and they had they were in the Phantom Zone. It was a really deep story, and it dealt with Superman. He first Superman becoming a father, and it kind of it kind of dealt. It made me think, because Richard Donner was onto something. He wanted to treat Superman with more respect, and so did Christopher Reeve. I mean, they loved the hope and optimistic version, but they also wanted to explore other facets, which is why Richard Donner was so praiseworthy of Zack Snyder's take, because that's kind of where he wanted to take Superman. I mean, it just goes to show. And I feel like James Gunn has the wrong idea. He wants to go back. 100%. He wants to go backwards instead of forwards. But he wants to do it with a guy that looks exactly like Henry Cavill. I mean,
he just wanted to, and I get it. Like I know we were told that Zaslav had a role in picking the actors as well, but I get the sense that Colonel Sanders was trying to pour more salt into the wound and be like, haha, this is my version of Henry Cavill, but it's not what you guys want. It's what I want, because it's all about me. It's all about me and my ego. Like,
That's right.
That's the vibe I was getting the whole time. And I don't even know where I was going with that. But but yeah, I mean, and I think this goes without saying, but I of course admire Christopher Reeve's his take on Superman. I you know, like, who doesn't, like, admire that performance? Like, we wouldn't have the superhero genre without that first film.
100%.
In cinema. But at the same time, for people in 2023 to be taking that performance as gospel, as the only way to make Superman in the cinematic realm, you just will never get it.
Well, and this is
never
the
get it.
thing, Apass. People don't realize that that's exactly what they tried in 2006 with Superman Returns. Bryan Singer tried to give you a modern continuation of Christopher Reeve era Superman, and the audience rejected it.
Yes, they
Rejected it so much so that we never got to see Bryan Singer's director's cut of Superman Returns, which, according to my good friend Robert Meyer Burnett, is actually far superior than what we got theatrically. But because Warner Brothers cut so much out of it, but there's no desire to see a director's cut of Superman Returns, because Superman Returns flopped so bad and was so boring. It was such a poor. Brandon Routh essentially came off as a poor man's Christopher Reeve, just like David Cornsweet is going to come off as a poor man's Henry Cavill. It's already happening.
Cavill light.
Yeah, it's already happening. And you're not, when you have those kinds of comparisons, what I love, and this is where, you know, we kind of, you and I, we can kind of, you know, you can kind of see the origins with our love of where Zack Snyder was taking things, because when Zack Snyder cast Henry Cavill for Man of Steel, I don't know if you remember this, but back then when he was casting for Superman, there was a lot of talk about, there were a lot of people online and in newspapers and in articles where they were saying that Zack Snyder should bring back Brandon Routh and give Brandon Routh another chance, a chance to play a different version of Superman that didn't work out with Bryan Singer. And I remember there being a quote from Zack Snyder in one of the articles I read, where Zack Snyder had said in the quote, "I didn't realize there was such a groundswell for Brandon Routh," but there literally was. There was a groundswell for people who wanted Brandon Routh to come back for Man of Steel because they felt like he was a good actor for Superman, but he got a raw deal because they wanted him to basically, you know, pretend to be Christopher Reeve's version of Superman instead of being his own version of Superman. And I think that's 100% true, which is why when Zack cast Henry Cavill, it was such a, you know, a generation defining version of Superman, because it's so different from what came before it. I mean, Man of Steel is night and day compared to Superman Returns.
Oh,
so you basically have, you know, and now Henry Cavill is essentially the avatar for Superman moving forward, as we can see now with David Cornsweet.
Yeah.
You know, because James Gunn could have casted that guy, what was that one dude? Novogratz. What was his name? Wolfgang
Novogratz. Yeah.
There was a lot of talk about him, but I stuck to my guns. And I remember telling you, there was talk when they were trying to finish the Snyder cut back then, and this is in my book too. There was talk before, when they were finishing up the Snyder cut, and there was talks that maybe Henry Cavill wouldn't want to come back as Superman or be used, and they were talking about there were news outlets that were talking about Corn Sweat back then.
Yes. Yeah.
Because he looked so similar. He looked so similar to Cavill.
Yeah. And I think that quote that is now being passed around from David Cornsweet talking about Henry Cavill's Superman versus the Superman he wants to play. I think that was around that same time.
Right. I think it was like 2018, 2019.
19, yeah.
Something along those lines.
I remember reading something like that, and I'm like, who the hell does this guy think he is? Like, just by saying that like Henry Cavill's Superman wasn't hopeful. And again, just because he didn't smile into the camera and fly away into like outer space, like it's just Zach does it subtly. He doesn't do it in like the way that people want. Apparently, general audience wants Superman to be. So I mean, I don't want to because I was seeing some stuff online about the casting from fans and most of it being more I saw a lot more positive than negative, but even the negative ones, I was just like, let's be mad at David Zaslav and James Gunn, not these actors, because these actors are literally just taking a job, So and clearly David Cornsweet has an appreciation for the character, but the blame goes completely on David Zaslav and James Gunn for me.
I agree 100%, and I think that when you have a guy like that clearly comes from the same mold, could be related to Henry Cavill, for God's sake. I look at it like this. I'm like, okay, you're clearly showing us, James Gunn, that you have no originality, none whatsoever, because you could have cast your Superman could have been unique. I'm going to say it right now. If he would have went against the grain and he would have casted, what was the other guy? Nicholas Hoult?
Yeah.
He would have cast Nicholas Hoult. Well, Nicholas Hoult looks very different from any actor we've ever had play Superman. So it would be a completely different take. It would be associated with a completely different thing, The reason they went for Henry Cavill, it was like James Gunn saying, I'm going to out Henry Cavill. I'm going to get a better Henry Cavill. Or it was like him telling Zach, my out Henry Cavill. Snyder. Yeah, he's going to out Snyder. My Henry Cavill's better than your Henry Cavill. And by the way, I'm going to make my Henry Cavill more hopeful and optimistic than your Henry Cavill ever got the chance to be. It's like a petty... it feels like this casting to me feels like a petty schoolyard kind of a thing. Yeah, I'm going to fire your guy, your Henry Cavill, the original, and I'm going to get my guy who looks a lot like your guy, but he's better than your guy because he's funnier.
Right. It's definitely a schoolyard, mine is bigger than yours, petty, one-upmanship. But the thing is though, I don't think he's gonna one up anybody. I don't think he will. And even if David, again, like the actor, he may be phenomenal as Superman with what he's given, but James Gunn, I'm sorry, he ain't the guy for it. He is not the guy for it.
And you know what? People will say that we're Snyder cultists and we're haters, but I'm going to put an end to that right now. And I'll tell you what my problem is. My biggest problem with Superman Legacy is not the cast. It's not even the story, the whole Superman versus the Elite or Superman versus the Authority with Manchester Black. I don't have a problem with that either. My problem is that James Gunn is directing it. He's writing it and directing it. He is not, and that's where where you and I are once again in lockstep. He is not the man for Superman. He's the guy for the obscure characters, for Peacemaker, for Suicide Squad, for you want the Weasel trilogy, you go to him. All right, but you don't go to James Gunn for Superman and say, oh yeah, nothing that this guy has done in his career tells you he's the man for Superman. He's never done a real epic film in his life.
He doesn't know what epic even means.
He doesn't even know what it means. And if you really want to get technical, his most quote unquote epic movie was probably the very first Guardians of the Galaxy. And the first Guardians of the Galaxy was only pretty good because he didn't write it.
Mm-hmm.
There were better writers who wrote Guardians of the Galaxy.
And he tried to discredit the only female writer on that film, too. Isn't that funny? That ego of his just never knows when to quit.
Yeah, like, it's an ego that's the size. He's got the ego the size of Texas. And people just don't understand that that's the problem that we have with James Gunn. It's not that, you know, we're hating on it just because it's not Zack Snyder. No, we're hating on it because it's him, because of who he is, because of what he has done. Because if you look at his filmography, technically he's done nothing to show that he's qualified for Superman. I would go as far as to say they probably would have had a better luck if they would have got Joss Whedon to come in and direct it. And the only reason I'm saying that is because at least Joss Whedon has directed some epic movies. He directed the first 2 Avengers movies, which are considered epic films. So if you're going to, regardless of what your feelings are on Joss Whedon or those movies, he's a more qualified director for Superman than James Gunn is. Mm-hmm. And that's just a fact. And what about the Russo brothers, right? You know, they were talking about, even the Russo brothers said they weren't interested in doing anything for Gunn's DC, didn't they? Weren't they? They did that. They did their thing with Zack Snyder where they ate the pizza and they could hardly, you know, and Joe Russo wouldn't shut up. Joe Russo's ego is probably at least half the size of James Gunn's, but I still think James Gunn has a bigger ego. But I just don't. I mean, so honestly, if Superman Legacy was announced and they announced that the Russo brothers were directing it, I'd be a little bit more optimistic for the possibility of it. It's not that it's not Zach or it's not Snyderverse. It's that it's James Gunn doing it. And every decision James Gunn makes turns gold to crap.
Yep.
And we've seen it. We've seen it recently with The Flash. You and I said this on our last show. The Flash should have been a masterpiece, 100%. And what they do, Gunn went in, made all these changes to a movie that he had nothing to do with. He came in, made all these changes, and ended the movie on a going nowhere platform. You end the movie like that, and you're left to say to yourself, "Oh my God!" So now Barry is stuck in the Schumacher verse. And I had a friend, an eagle-eyed friend, who managed to pick out some of the landscapes, some of the buildings, to show as proof that Barry Ezra Miller is stuck in the Clooneyverse. There are some structures that were not in any other version of these movies except Batman and Robin. And they actually, and I forget what building exactly it was that he pointed out, but the only place that this other building appears is in Batman and Robin. So it shows you right there that George Clooney is the Batman of that timeline, and that's where Ezra Miller ends up. His version of Barry is stuck in the Clooneyverse. He's not going back. And Jason Momoa just happens to be, I guess, Aquaman in the Clooneyverse too.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's not, the movie didn't connect any threads, didn't connect any tissue, didn't lead to anything that they're going to do with James Gunn's upcoming DCU. All it did was strand Ezra Miller in the Clooneyverse and basically leave it there and say, okay, yeah, ha ha, the joke's on you. We're putting you in the, we're gonna leave you in what is known as one of the worst Batman movies of all time. We're gonna leave you in that timeline. Ha ha ha. Suck it, Snyder fans. That's what that ending was. It was a big middle finger to the Snyderverse. That's what it was. And you know that's not what Andy Muschietti wanted to do, because Andy Muschietti's ending was very, very different. We know this. So how can we sit here and say, oh, but you guys are wrong. The Snyderverse, the movies in the Snyderverse, it doesn't erase the Snyderverse. It celebrates the Snyderverse. Yeah. Okay. It celebrates the Snyderverse. It celebrates every aspect of DC. Okay. I'll give you that. We even have, we even had a horrible CGI disfigured version of Christopher Reeve in the movie. We had a very bad PS2 CGI version of Henry Cavill in the movie too. We had all kinds of bad cameos through CGI that the director tries to excuse off as being intentional. Which hey, if that was intentional, I don't know. I'm really,
maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We'll
maybe it is,
know.
maybe it is. PlayStation 2 graphics are cool. I guess that's what it is. PlayStation 2 called. They want their graphics back, Muschietti. You got to give them back. Sony needs their graphics back. Alex 3.0 says, if the new Mission Impossible flops, then Hollywood will freak out for sure. Tom Cruise to the rescue. Alex, I agree with you. If Mission Impossible flops, it's over for cinemas. It's over. There's been too many flops. There's been too many flops this summer. Too many flops.
But then again, it's like, it's these companies that are just banking on nostalgia, which it may work in certain cases, but you can't be banking on that every single time you're releasing something that you think will make you a lot of money. You know what I mean? And I know that a lot of the movies this summer aren't necessarily nostalgia bait, but in terms of The Flash and Indiana Jones and
even Little Mermaid to an extent was nostalgia bait. They were thinking that, if you're a fan of the original Little Mermaid, you're going to love this regardless of the changes we made. Now, I saw Little Mermaid in the theaters, and I'd gone with a friend of mine, and we sat there, and my friend, she loved it. She thought it was great. It was an entertaining little movie, whatever. I didn't hate it the way a lot of people did, and the way a lot of people made it out to be horrible. But here's the thing. You can only do that so many times. You can only go back to the well with these animated movies, turning these animated classics into live action films and expecting the audience to, just flock in like lemmings for these movies. It's just not going to happen. You got to understand that people have an attachment to these films. This is one of the reasons why Superman Returns didn't work out. Superman Returns didn't work out for a multitude of reasons, but what you have to understand is the audience is attached to Christopher Reeve. They love Christopher Reeve in the role. They love him so much that Brandon Routh, because they didn't let him play his own Superman, just looked like an imposter. Looked like a guy cosplaying as Christopher Reeve, just like David Cornsweet is going to look like a guy cosplaying as Henry Cavill, although I think he's going to have the red trunks. I really do. I think he's going to be like a hybrid of Henry Cavill and Christopher Reeve.
Yes.
I think that's what you're going to get out of him. He's going to play the more bumbling Clark Kent, and he's gonna ham it up, and he's gonna have the the clumsiness. He's gonna have that real the golly gee shucks Clark, and then he's gonna have the more bulked up Henry Cavill-esque kind of look going. I mean, we're gonna probably see him in the Superman suit, and we're gonna be all amazed, like, oh my god, yeah, that's Henry Cavill. Like, that's what I'm talking about. It's designed to trick you through nostalgia. That's that nostalgia bait. This is what Warner Brothers learned. The goggles, like the beer goggles, right?
Yeah.
Warner Brothers learned this from Superman Returns. They're like, we got somebody that we wanted to play continue Christopher Reeve's Superman, but he didn't look enough like Christopher Reeve. He looked like a guy cosplaying as Christopher Reeve. They learned the wrong message. Now, well, Henry Cavill is the Superman of this generation. Everybody loves Henry Cavill. Even people that didn't like Zack Snyder's take on things love Henry Cavill, right?
Right. Yeah.
So what you do is you get somebody that resembles Henry Cavill so that the audience will have that nostalgia and feel that it's still the Superman they know, even though it's a completely different actor and a completely different story, which is why, again, there's no reason why Henry Cavill couldn't have still played Superman. And that's the problem that people have with it the most. He still could have played him. He doesn't look like he's 40. Henry Cavill is turning 40 this year. He doesn't look 40. He looks like he could continue to play him. I don't get it.
He has a good, he could play him for many years to come. It's just like Netflix is #sell is the only effective way to see these people back as their respective characters.
Yeah, and maybe because, like we talked about with Wonder Woman, maybe there is something being worked out, because I can't see Gal coming back and working for Gunn after Gunn effectively nixed her Wonder Woman 3 movie. I mean, come on. Like, really? Like she really, and she's amped up too. I mean, remember we were talking about, what was it? The
Tadam.
Yeah, the Tadam thing. Which was completely awesome. And
I love that she did that.
She was so amped. I think that's the most amped I've ever seen her in on a promotion for something. She was really, and I like the fact that she didn't have Patty Jenkins there acting as an interpreter for her either. She was really amped up, speaking for herself and being direct with the audience and basically saying F you to the studio. I loved it. I thought it was in the most
polite way possible.
Yeah.
It was just like, F you, James Gunn, F you, Warner Brothers. I'm still Wonder Woman, and people still want me to be Wonder Woman. And even that clip from Tadam on the red carpet, and the interviewer asking her if there was any chance for her to be Diana again, and she literally looks off from the camera. And literally, I think right next to her, the Snyders were being interviewed. And she was like, things are being worked out behind the scenes.
Right, and the Snyders are over here, and then there's that picture of her hugging Zach and Debbie, and you get the whole idea that something is brewing. Again, I think the Cell campaign is happening. I'm not going to lie. I think it's happening. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I think with all of this crap that's going on right now, I think with all these, they're in desperate need. They need money. How do they expect to make Superman Legacy when they have no money? I'd like to know how much how much they promised Corn Sweat for this movie. You know, because I think I read somewhere. I think I read somewhere he's gonna make 300,000 for his role in Superman Legacy, and he's got and they're gonna sign him to they've signed him to a multi-picture deal because they want to use him as Superman going forward in the DCU. So that's
in movies, in animation, and video games.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Toxin says recasting Superman is a big reason the current DC movies are flopping, in my opinion. 100%, Toxin. 100%, my friend. You are on point. That's it. You don't recast Superman when you have an actor who still wants to play the character, who still loves the character. And not only that, he still resembles the character, the template of the character, still embodies the character in every way. The man is so humble. I don't understand how you can.
I love him. Oh, he's so humble.
Like, it's ridiculous to me. I'm just like, you got to be kidding me. You got a guy here. It's like with Christopher Reeve. Okay, I remember after it was Superman 4 flopped and whatever, and Christopher Reeve, before Christopher Reeve's accident, they wanted to do one more Superman movie with Christopher Reeve, and they could have, because up until his accident, he still, again, resembled and embodied the character. He was who everybody saw as Superman at that time. So do you think that they would have made another Superman movie without Christopher Reeve? I believe that had Christopher Reeve lived, I think we would have got Kingdom Come instead of Superman Returns.
That would have been something.
I think we would have got the Gray Templed Superman. We would have got the Christopher, we would have got the Kingdom Come storyline. We would have got all the heroes. You might have even had Linda Carter in there as Wonder Woman, and they would have brought Michael Keaton back then as Batman. You would have had, I think that's the movie you would have gotten had Christopher Reeve not had that accident.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah. Because otherwise, if he would have not had that unfortunate accident and they still didn't do that idea, they would have been even more idiotic.
It would have definitely been a missed opportunity not to go down that road. And I think that's where we are, that's where we kind of are now. It's a complete missed opportunity when you have an actor like Cavill, who you clearly brought back, you paraded him out for Black Adam, made it seem like he was back in the role, only to pull the rug out from under him and cast a guy that looks almost identical to Henry Cavill, to the point where the guy could literally be the man's twin brother.
Literally, like his little twin brother. Yeah, honestly.
What? I mean, who does this?
An idiotic, egotistical, freaking... and I tried not to be like, I hope I'm not coming across as being triggered, but it really, honestly,
this is definitely the place to be triggered. So
I mean, you know what? If hashtag sale happens, and I believe it is 100%, I think it is happening. I mean, if not just because of what Sky scooped last week, from what he heard, but also just from Gal Gadot's, like, the way that she was talking and the way that she was acting at Fandom, like, something is brewing. So that gives me like a piece of like, we will get what we want eventually.
Mm-hmm.
So that way, Gunn and WBD can do whatever the hell they want to do. But as long as we get what we want,
they can take their Cavill look-alike, and they can.
Yes.
I mean,
you can take your Cavill look-alike, you can take your Ben Affleck look-alike, you can take your Gal Gadot look-alike, all you want. You can do whatever you want. You could be the Kmart version of the DC EU, for all I care. I think it is happening. I really do. I think something's happening.
I do too. I think what I'll do now, I'll play another Another clip from Pause Not Stopped. Mr. J says, Gunn sabotaged the Flash by saying he loved it. Probably so.
His notes and him loving the movie and calling it the greatest superhero movie of all time.
Yeah. There were a couple of people who called it the greatest movie of all time. I think it was, wasn't it Tom Cruise?
Tom Cruise
and Stephen King and a couple other people.
The most random people possible. All coming out of the woodwork saying this movie is the greatest since ever. Since the dawn of motion pictures.
Here's a clip about the executives. Now, a lot of people are criticizing me about, who I'm kind of favoring in this book versus who I'm going against. And I can tell you right now, I'm not going against people in the fandom for this book, but greedy studio executives are fair game. And I have a lot of information that I think is going to surprise people. So here's another clip from Pause Not Stopped.
Sujihara did not care much about social media reactions to BVS. To him and his co-chair Toby Emmerich, this was about bonus money. Justice League needed to be released on time for the top execs to get their extra lucrative payday. If fans on social media hated Ben Affleck as Batman and kept touting Henry Cavill as a joyless Superman, that meant Snyder's vision was too divisive of a risk. That risk needed to be mitigated at all costs. If Batman v Superman makes $1 billion, Warner Brothers is committed to Zack Snyder's dark and unique vision. But if BVS underperformed, the studio could use that as a scapegoat to justify removing Zack Snyder and taking the DCEU into a more Marvel-like direction. The movie-going audience loves humor and wants to be choking on popcorn every 30 seconds through belly-aching laughter. Why should Marvel make all the cash? Tsujihara knew what needed to happen next.
So there's another clip to give you an idea of what, I'm going for with this book. I got stuff on the big people. Okay, I'm not concerning myself with small fish. So people who think that I'm going to be going after people in the fandom who I disagree with, this book is meant to be a historical account of events. It's meant to be accurate. And the stuff that I have is jaw-dropping. I think a lot of people are going to be surprised. A lot of people are going to have to rethink what they thought they knew about this whole debacle. And it really, for me, is a game changer that could potentially, and this is not me being arrogant or being pompous or acting like I know better than everybody else, but I really feel like this is a book that could potentially unite the fandom in some ways, because what you're going to understand when you read this book or listen to it, however you consume it, you're going to understand that the fans are only so responsible for the things that they do. As fans, we don't control anything. We're not the executives. We're not the ones making the dumb decisions at the top level. The dumb decisions are made by studio executives who are motivated by greed. And as soon as you understand that, and as soon as you realize that point, the plot kind of thickens for you, because you start to realize just how deep the rabbit hole goes. Now I'm going to play one more clip with regards to Kevin Tsujihara, the CEO of Warner Brothers at the time all of this stuff started, and then we'll go back here, and I may play a couple more clips tonight, because I did put out quite a few of these clips on social media. So I'm going to do one more clip about Tsujihara, and then we'll get back to our thing. Let's see here. Wow, it just to this day, even I get shocked by some of it, even though I'm the one writing it, I still get shocked by it when I hear it out, in audio like this. But here's another clip.
Brothers' war room was large and luxurious. There were several office chairs accompanying a supersized work table. executives nervously sat down and awaited the orders from their determined CEO, Kevin Tsujihara. Tsujihara told his staff that he has seen the movie multiple times and again last night. He feels the delay made the quality of the movie better. This falls in line with reports of some of these same studio executives giving Batman v Superman a standing ovation. They all loved Ben Affleck as Batman. Unfortunately, many people on social media were not aligned with the personal feelings of those in attendance of this meeting. Kevin Tsujihara was about to outline a plan. This plan would not just deceive moviegoers, but it would reshape the DCEU for years to come. Here, the conflicted CEO would mastermind the perception of box office underperformance for BVS, as well as the unceremonious ousting of director Zack Snyder for his upcoming Justice League film. Paused, not stopped by ZodWriter is coming soon.
I just, again, I can't stress it enough. The rabbit hole goes very deep. And these clips, this stuff took place very early on when BVS was in theaters, and we had the vocal minority of people on social media complaining about BVS. Oh, it's too dark. Oh, it's this. Oh, it's that. This is where all of this happened. Tsujihara didn't care about that. Him and his executives actually liked BVS. The thing is, they want to please the Marvel audience. This was about the studio's financial longevity as well as studio greed. Because what you're going to find out is, as it gets deeper, I'll give you a little spoiler. Well, I don't know if it's really a spoiler, but Tsujihara essentially orchestrates this entire thing where they wanted to remove Zack Snyder while BVS was still in theaters. It just so happened, okay, because they cut the theatrical release of BVS by 2 weeks. Okay, so it was near, and it made over $800 million, and they cut it 2 weeks early. And what you find out is, what I was able to find out was that BVS did make $1 billion, and it was on track to make over $1 billion. But what happened was Tsujihara was panicking because he wanted that Marvel money. He wanted to capture that Marvel audience. And he knew that if BVS made that $1 billion, and it was publicly known, that now we're stuck. We have to ride it out with Zack Snyder's vision. But if BVS underperforms, like I wrote in the clips, if BVS underperforms, you now can use Snyder and throw him under the bus and say, your vision isn't working. This is not what the audience wants. They want fun. They want laughter. They want joy, which is why we ended up with the theatrical cut of Justice League. We got this. This was in the planning stages before the family tragedy that the Snyders went through. This was before Autumn passed away. This was not the fact that Autumn passed away, unfortunately, was a convenience for the studio, because now the studio can say, yeah, Zach, take all the time you want. Step away from the movie. This made it so that they didn't have to fire Zach. They didn't have to do anything. They let Zach step away because he's grieving. He's being a father. He's being a husband. He steps away for a while, and now you can bring in none other than Joss Whedon, who made the Avengers. You can have him come in, and he will lighten up the movie and make it into Avengers 2.0, just with DC characters. And that is exactly what we got. It's exactly what happened. It's exactly the way it all lines up. And in the book, I lay it all out for you. The meeting between Tsujihara and Emmerich, the stuff I got on these guys, you guys just have no idea. This book is going to be a game changer. And the reason why I said I think it's going to unite the fandom is because the fandom is going to realize, we're busy fighting amongst ourselves, arguing over stupid hashtags like sell or restore the Snyderverse, arguing over hashtags. That's what they want you to do. They want you to argue over hashtags and attack each other and call each other names and fight amongst each other because that makes the fandom look bad. They want the fandom to look bad. They don't want the fandom to be united. Because if the fandom is united against them, that allows you to focus your energy on the studio. That allows you to focus, because now you can see the cracks in the mirror because you're not focusing on yourselves. You're focusing on who the real problem is. And the real problem is the studio. It always has been and it always will. And that is the narrative throughout the whole book. And it's what people don't realize, that as fans, you have to hold the mirror up to what the real problems are and stop fighting amongst yourselves, getting involved in all these internet, squabbles on Twitter and all these social media battles. And, James Gunn loves this kind of stuff because it allows him to, kind of just work behind the scenes and do whatever he wants. And he loves the fact that the Flash flopped because now, he's got his, he's got his complete excuse. He's got his justification for the failure of the Snyderverse. He could say, they don't care about the Snyderverse. Look, nobody went to see the Flash. Charles Briggs points this out. Yo, Zod, did you hear the rumor that James Gunn was jumping with joy that the Flash bombed because now Ezra Miller and the Snyderverse is dead at WBD? Yes, it is dead at WBD. We've been trying to tell you that for how long now, Apass? How long have we been trying to tell these people that it's dead at WBD? It's never going to happen at WBD, which is why when people continuously use the old hashtag, restore the Snyderverse, talking directly to WBD, you're wasting your time.
It's literally, every time I come across a tweet from somebody who is a Snyder person, and they're like, fuck you, WBD, but yet they tag them and say, please restore the Snyderverse. It's like, you honestly think they're gonna be listening when you're telling them to F off? And like, even if they they're just, this has been a strategy all along. It makes sense now that you say that they've been literally just trying to make us infight with one another over stupid, petty stuff, so that they can get their bonuses and call it a day.
Right.
Like,
that's why, wait till you guys read all the stuff about Henry Cavill's face.
Oh God.
Toby Emmerich literally said, I don't care what he looks like. This movie needs to come out. And the only reason they cared about the movie coming out, they rushed it out, was because of their bonuses. If they didn't get, if
asshole.
They don't care. They didn't care. They don't care what Henry Cavill looks like. They're put this movie out. They don't care. You understand? If they make Henry Cavill look like he's deformed,
Play-Doh face,
and has a severe disability, they don't care because, again, it's not about the movie, it's about their money. They took us, the audience, for granted. They thought we would love Justice League as it was. They thought we would love it because, they'll go see anything, right? Boy, were they wrong.
They were. Like you said, they took advantage of us, and they also underestimated us. They thought we were just like mindless, like they'll eat what we give them sort of thing. And we are intelligent people. Yeah, sheeple, pretty much. Yeah, but we are intelligent, okay? We know when something is phony and it's not coming from Zach. We know. We could sense it watching that movie. As soon as it opened and you see Cavill's face, the man literally looks like the statue of David, and you literally deform his face and make and humiliate him. Like, we saw right through that. Anybody that has been within this community, we all saw right through that when we saw that film.
And they're still
Yeah.
and they're still doing it now. They're
Yes.
still pissing on Henry Cavill to this day.
Yes,
When
they
you
are.
see Henry Cavill, when you see the bad CGI and how they did him in the Flash movie, it doesn't even look like him. It looks almost as bad as the theatrical cut of Justice League. And the only reason it doesn't look as bad as the theatrical cut of Justice League is because every time we saw Henry Cavill's face in that movie, it was messed up. At least in the Flash, it was just that one shot. Oh my God. And graphic vandalism. What's up, Johnny? Points out writers' strike and the actors are about to follow them. A lot of upcoming projects are not going to happen. Johnny, we can only hope. We can only hope.
Before he literally destroyed the brand completely.
Yeah, you know what I'm hoping? I'm hoping that this pushes things back to the point where Warner Brothers Discovery ends up getting bought before they have a chance to go into production on any of this crap that Gunn wants to do. And then essentially what ends up happening is it's like the Justice League Mortal, where they just completely, put a halt on it. They're like everybody's in their costumes and they're about to start shooting, and then somebody from the studio just comes in and says, nope. You know what? It would be poetic if Pam Abdi and Mike DeLuca got to walk out on the James Gunn's Superman Legacy set and look at James Gunn as he's holding up the bullhorn and tell him, James, you're fired. You're out of here.
That would be amazing.
I would just like to be a fly on the wall.
Oh my God.
During
Yes.
During that moment.
It couldn't happen to a more deserving person.
I'm really like, and like I said, I don't have anything against the actors that they picked for Superman Legacy. I could care less. To me, it's just like, listen, you've got some big shoes to fill, and I'm just sorry that you have to be doing it under James Gunn. That's my only problem. Like because I think that Corn Sweat could play Superman later on down the line, but
after Cavill,
with James, after Cavill finishes his run, if they want to do that, okay. I think he would have been. I think that would have been a brilliant plan. Let the DCEU play out. Let Zack Snyder finish his run, and then you reboot and you bring in your Cavill clone and your whatever you're going to do, and you keep that look because it's familiar. You keep that look because okay, we're not using Henry Cavill, we're going younger, but we've got an actor who looks similar. And I think that Warner Brothers actually believes, because Corn Sweat looks like Cavill, that's going to put butts in the seats. I think they actually believe that people are going to fall for it, and they're going to support it because the familiarity is there. There's enough similarities between Corn Sweat and Cavill, because I'm almost sure that once this dude bulks up, he's gonna look like Henry Cavill. It's gonna be, I mean, and there's gonna be all kinds of pictures putting them side by side, and you're gonna see it, you're gonna know it, and more people are gonna be just like you and me, looking at each other saying, why'd they get rid of Henry Cavill again?
Yeah. But here's the other thing though, like about that, I think people that didn't that aren't in the know, like, I mean, to the point where they don't even read, like, entertainment, like, trade headlines. Yeah, they are banking on those people to think that that is the same actor that's been playing Superman for the past 10 years. But even, like, I have coworkers, some of them that are, like, just graduated high school or something like that, but, like, they weren't invested in, like, the DC, like, Zack Snyder's DC, universe. But whenever the Cavill announcement where he said he was no longer Superman happened, they were like, "What? Why? Why? He's like he is Superman, you know?" Like they were like literally like baffled. Why is he leaving when he just came back? Sort of thing.
Yes.
Which proves the general audience loves Henry as Superman. And yeah, yeah, I think they're literally banking on people that have been deaf and blind to this whole fiasco.
Right, they're hoping to fool the general audience because
Yes.
they know they're not going to win us over because
Oh, hell no.
we've already dissected and proven. And like I said, I think I'm spot on. I think that Gunn's movie is going to be Superman versus the Elite or Superman
Mhm.
versus the Authority, whatever, and it's going to be that same story. That's what I think the movie's going to be. So if you watch the Superman versus the Elite animated movie, that'll give you a good idea of what Gunn's movie is going to be, just with more comedy.
Mhm.
And I think they think that they're gonna, give the general audience just enough. They're not trying to make by casting this guy, they're not trying to make you forget about Cavill. They want you to remember Cavill, but they want you to have that familiarity going in so that you'll be able to see past all the changes and just accept Corn Sweat as the new Superman because he resembles Cavill so much. I know exactly what they're doing, and they're just getting off cheaper. Whereas it's all about money, is what it is. The bottom line when you think about it, because they're only paying again. They're only paying Cavill the minimum. I'm
Corn
not
sweat.
Cavill, but Corn Sweat,
Yeah.
Cavill. Yeah, the minimum. They look exactly the same. It's like whatever. I that's why I'm saying I don't get the idea of swapping out a guy that he's because he's. I think they said he's the same age that Cavill was when he did Man of Steel. So
That's just
I'm
he
not.
wants to be Zach so bad,
He wants to
John.
be
He
Zach. He does.
wants to be
He
Zach
wants to be
so
Zach. And you know what he wants? He wants the fan base that Zach has. He wants the
Oh
fans that are
god.
willing to fight dirty and go at everybody he wants Zach's fan base. That's what he wants. And he just doesn't have that. The fans that he has are all burner accounts, bots, and losers. That's what his fan base is.
They're
How long did that run with gun hashtag last? My part in the James Gunn chapter where I wrote about the run with gun hashtag, I think my passage about the run with gun hashtag is longer than it actually lasted on Twitter.
Oh my god. And then it went to I stand with James Gunn and James Gunn we trust.
Yeah, why would you want to stand with that guy? Have you seen the
Why?
people he hangs around?
Why? Exactly. Exactly. Not to mention the fact that he was named in a freaking was it a lawsuit?
Yeah, it
I'm
was
trying
a
to
big
remember.
lawsuit because it happened
Yeah.
it happened at his house. It was
Yeah.
it
Yeah.
was
So
an
anyone
inappropriate. We're just gonna say it was an inappropriately themed party. I don't want to get demonetized, so I'm just gonna say it was
right.
an inappropriately themed party, pajama party. So let's just put it that way.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
take that how you will.
Yeah, but yet we'll stand with him. We'll stand
We'll
with him,
stand
but
with him. Yeah.
we'll call Zack Snyder this, that, and the other thing, even though he has literally proven to be a genuinely good person.
Once
But
again, shout out to Alex 3.0 here. One big reason the Flash flopped is because everyone saw the better multiverse movie the same month, Spider-Man across the Spider-Verse. That's mic
Right.
drop right there. Seriously.
Yes.
And that's
Yes.
100% true because it is a better movie. Oh my God, it's so much better. It is so much
Yes.
better, and it's a cartoon, and there is so much more depth. It was a fun movie to watch. It was trippy. There was a lot of action in it. There were a lot of great elements. I love that movie, Alex 3.0, and I think you are 100% right. People, you know, it's like going. It's almost like Cavill and Corn Sweat. Like, you got Cavill over here, but they want you to, you know, you got Fruit Loops over here, and then you got Fruit Rings over here. And it's sort of, what are you gonna eat for breakfast? I genuinely believe that that's you know, that's exactly that did not help it. And to be honest with you, Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse is still
going
Into
strong.
the Spider-Verse or whatever, it's still going strong. It's still doing very well. And Toxin points out Cavill was on a journey, just like you said, Apass. He was on the hero's journey, the same way Tom Holland was on his journey in his trilogy. Definitely, these characters are all, you know, you got to give them time to breathe. You got to give the story time to be told. When you think about it, Zach had just started. He just did Man of Steel. He did BVS, and Justice League finally gave people a glimpse of that hope and optimism. Of course, Zach was going to go all in justice with the next movie with Superman and make him like Homelander and stuff. But you were eventually going to get that full circle moment where Superman was going to become once again, or definitively, the hope and optimistic hero. And I really think that's, you know, there's a lot going on there. The hero's journey should not show the loss of goodness. Let's see. Daniel Martin agrees with you. Apass, exactly. Snyder was all about that hero's journey for Superman. I highly doubt we'll get anything even remotely resembling something that epic with the Colonel at the creative helm.
He's one of those people you should never give the keys to your car, let alone the keys to DC, like, lore characters.
Well, you know, another thing you should never do, you should never hire James Gunn as a babysitter either.
Hell no.
Gonna throw that out there.
Yeah, hell no.
I'm at the point where I've come to the conclusion that it's one of two things. It's either everybody at that studio is just inept and completely void of any kind of intelligence and doesn't care about money, or James Gunn and Peter Safran are only put in place there because they know that within the next year or two, they're going to sell the company and everybody's going to be gone anyway. So none of this really matters because none of this stuff is going to be made. And the reason I kind of lean towards that a little bit and kind of lean towards Gunn and Safran as being nothing more than placeholders is because I think back to the day that James Gunn announced his slate of upcoming movies. And he announced a bunch of things that made no sense. You know, you want to talk about the word wacky. All the stuff that he announced, none of it made any sense. It was off the cuff. It was like he made it up 10 minutes before he had to go live and do that little video presentation that he did.
Literally looks like he was in a conference room at a hotel.
Yeah, and when he's it's no secret that we know for a fact that he had no interest in doing a Superman movie. Just a few months prior, he was interviewed, and he literally said in the interview that he didn't have any interest in the big heroes. And all of a sudden, it's his lifelong ambition, and he's on a mission from God to make the greatest Superman movie of all time. Doesn't make any sense. None of it makes any sense. And that's why I say I think it's all fake. I think he's a placeholder. I think he's just there because the studio knows that none of this crap that he wants to do is actually going to happen. The only thing I think is maybe Corn Sweat and the new Lois Lane, Brosnahan. I think they are locked in. I think they are studio hires in a sense that regardless of if Gunn is there or not, that'll be your next Superman and Lois Lane regardless. I think because when you cast an actor like Superman, they tend to hold on to the role. That tends to be I don't really think it. I honestly think that even if Superman Legacy doesn't get made, that Corn Sweat will still be Superman moving forward with whatever Superman movie they do eventually. I mean, unless Comcast or whoever buys them, completely wipes the slate clean and says, okay, we're going to start from scratch and do all this, which is very possible too, but I don't know.
Yeah. We'll see.
Let's see. The truth is, if Zack wasn't the one who made Man of Steel, some people will be praising the movie all day long. Yeah, there's a lot of that too.
There's so much of that, especially on that unreal place called Twitter, where it's like a lot of the things that they're supposedly excited about Superman Legacy is a lot of the things that Zack already did with his movies. You know what I mean? Like the whole what was it that Gunn said? Like, oh, he's going to be in a world that's already like established with heroes. And meanwhile, people were complaining about BVS, how everything was crammed into one freaking movie. And it's like, which is it, people? Which is it?
Yeah. He's if he's in an established world where metahumans already exist and you already have heroes and stuff like that, you probably got a Batman that's existed. Then what the hell do you need to recast for?
Right.
It's
because of Zack Snyder. That's the only reason.
Yeah. It's a Zack Snyder thing. Well, it's that, and it's James Gunn's ego.
Yeah. For sure.
Again, like we were saying, he wants to out Henry. He wants to out Snyder on a lower budget. That's what he wants to do.
And this is what I was always like, what I've been saying since Gunn, because before that it was just Matt Reeves out Nolan. So, but like whenever they hired Gunn and announced the reboot and everything, I was like, WB literally went from Nolan and Snyder to out Nolan and out Snyder. Like, literally.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I guess it worked for him for the Batman. I don't know. I mean, did it work for him? I mean, they made some good money off of it, but that's the only one that's done anything. I mean, they were, they did okay with Black Adam, and if Black Adam would have got a China release, they probably things might have turned out a little differently, because I think Black Adam would have been a hit then.
Yeah.
But
even if it was a little mediocre.
Well, as you said, the only thing that was really good about it was Henry Cavill at the end.
and the JSA.
Well, yeah, the JSA, you like the JSA, but ultimately the movie itself was lackluster, to say the least, right? Okay. Well, the casting for Soups and Lois is spot on. Corn Sweat just needs to hit the gym. Well, Corn Sweat's definitely going to hit the gym, because Tim, they're going to want Corn Sweat to look as much like Henry Cavill as possible. This is going to be a Henry Cavill cloning situation. I wouldn't be surprised if they even hook up Corn Sweat with Henry Cavill's trainer, because they're going to want him to be they're going to want him to be on the Zack Snyder Superman diet. See, Warner Brothers doesn't mind using Zack Snyder when it works for them, when it's, to promote whatever trash they're doing, or to build their Superman up. They'll have no problem using Zack or Henry or anybody. They'll screw them from now till the end of time, as long as it benefits them in the short term, which is what they're trying to do. He has to save cats from trees and smile at everyone. No, I don't want such a generic Superman with no character building. Well, That's what you're going to get. You're going to get the Henry Cavill. You're going to get the Henry Cavill Superman, basically, that Zach was going to give you, but was making you as an audience member work for it. He was giving Superman the hero's journey. Gunn is just going to skip all of that and give you the hope and optimism. He's going to throw you into it already
with some wackiness.
With some wackiness mixed in, and you're going to get you're going to get Superman versus the Authority, which is essentially Superman versus the Elite, and it's going to be that story. It's going to be about two very strongly opposing ideologies. Superman, meaning most people are good, so you're going to have Superman fighting for those ideals, basically from the comics, truth, justice, and the American way. And then you're going to have the Authority, which sees things a little different. The Authority is essentially like an evil Justice League, the simplest way to describe them for those that don't know the comic books. They're like an evil version of the Justice League, but they're more they kind of remind me a little bit of like a knockoff, not just Justice League, but like a knockoff of like Watchmen too.
I was just thinking that
because they're kind of like they have that Alan Moore, like, or to take it one step further, and a more modern reference would be The Boys. You're gonna get that. It's basically the Authority is essentially like the Boys of DC.
Okay. Yeah.
So it's essentially you're gonna get that, and you're gonna get that. So imagine the Boys going up against Superman. So you're gonna have that. You're gonna have that clash of ideology, which which is the only way Gunn can do it, because he can do that on a budget. He doesn't have to. You don't need to spend a lot of money, because you're not going to be doing all these super awesome special effects. You're going to be doing a movie that is more grounded. You're going to have Clark Kent going around as a reporter investigating stuff. You're going to have probably more Clark Kent than anything else.
Yeah.
You're going to see Lois Lane doing all her reporter stuff. So it's going, and then it's going to have the romantic dynamic between them. There'll be a primary focus on that too. But honestly, I think that's what the movie's going to be. I'm not expecting it, and in no way, that's good for a comic book. It's good for an animated movie, but in no way do I think it's going to move the needle and get audiences to be invested to come into the theaters and watch it. I don't think so. I think the audience has evolved since then. The audience wanted more after Zack Snyder's Justice League, and what did they give us? I'm just saying. I don't think it's going to turn out the way that Warner Brothers is hoping it is. What people don't realize is that this isn't 1978. Christopher Reeve Superman is from a different era. Henry Cavill Superman is the post 9/11 era film with its tone and style. Yes. Without a doubt. I just don't get it. Matt Dan's Thought says, "What up? Screw James Gunn." Absolutely.
100%.
100%. I will never run with Gunn. I don't care what anybody says. I think that's one thing you can expect from us. You'll always get honesty from me and Apass, which is, hey, all of our friends are telling people how great the Flash movie is, and we're coming here telling you honestly how we feel about it. So just expect honesty from us. And
yes,
as the way it is.
I don't tend to change my mind on certain things, like a certain person does on a daily basis.
I'm not 50-50.
I'm not.
We got Tim's Talk here. He says, "Yeah, the Flash is an Etsy version of the animated movie. No Reverse Flash, no Thomas Wayne, no Aquaman and Wonder Woman debacle. But with that being said, I did think the movie was entertaining. Oh, I would agree. I definitely would say it's entertaining, and it's definitely entertaining for the masses, Tim. The masses are I think would love this movie, and the fact that nobody went to watch it is kind of surprising to me.
Yeah, it shows the brand confusion that DC has, and it also shows the damage that announcing the reboot did before this movie even came out. So,
yeah. Aquaman's not going to make any money either. That movie might as well just go directly to video because it's
drop it to Max.
I don't understand why they want to embarrass themselves, because I'm at the point where I think that both Aquaman and Blue Beetle are going to flop on the level of the Flash or worse than the Flash. Honestly, if you couldn't make a Flash movie work and you had Michael Keaton Batman coming back and he was all over the advertising and all over the promotion for this movie, you couldn't make that work. You really think people are really going to give a damn about Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom?
Or Blue Beetle? And
Blue Beetle is a completely unknown commodity to the general audience. You want to make a Blue Beetle movie is something you make way down the line after you've established your main characters. I don't know. I don't understand what James Gunn is doing. Even by James Gunn's own pattern as a filmmaker, this doesn't make sense. He introduced Guardians of the Galaxy, but remember, Guardians of the Galaxy was introduced well into the MCU's run. It's not like they started the MCU with Guardians of the Galaxy. If Guardians of the Galaxy would have been the first or second movie that they put out of the gate at the MCU would not be what it is today, because nobody would have gone to see that. You have to think about these things. How are you marketing Blue Beetle as your first? Well, it depends on what day of the week you ask James Gunn. Because some days he says that the Blue Beetle's the first DCU movie, and then some days he says, no, Superman Legacy is the first DCU movie. So which is it, Gunn? I'm confused. I really need this clarified before I finish my book, because I want to know so that I can accurately put in there what you say, because my chapter on James Gunn is entirely too long at this point, and I'm not even finished with it because he says so much crap. He changes his mind. He flip flops more than Prime. He does. He's 50-50 more than he's James Gunn at this point. I don't get it. I don't get it. Flash nipple.
I don't either.
100%. I don't get it.
Flash nipples.
Flash nipples in the drunk Aquaman.
That's what it should have been named.
Oh my God. Apass, I think more people would have went to see it because it would have been more honest.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely. Batman released the Muschietti cut.
Yes, 100%. Release all the director's cuts from DC films that they just
butchered the hell out of.
Yes. Just do that.
Yeah. When are we gonna get that Ayer cut, Apass? I mean, ever? We're gonna be old, gray, and dead before that comes out.
Oh my God! I'm hoping Netflix will get a hold of it.
Yeah. Well, that's my optimism. That's because again, this was something that Netflix wanted earlier on. I can't believe it when that Netflix went to them that early and said, "Hey, look, we want this, this, and this," and no, we got plans for that. We got plans. Yeah. You got plans, all right.
It's criminal, honestly, what those executives did.
Yeah,
criminal.
And I gotta say, I kind of feel like if Hamada was still in power, maybe we would have got the haircut. I'm sorry, because I kind of feel like Hamada was starting to understand a little bit. Especially through all my research and all the stuff I've been able to dig, and all the stuff I've been able to find out for this book. I think Hamada was starting to get it towards the end there, because Hamada even had ideas for a big multiversal movie. He wanted to do Crisis on Infinite Earths. He wanted to do Kingdom Come. So we would have got all these characters back at some point.
Who would have thought, Zod, that we would be wanting Hamada back?
Well, that's what I, that's why I always think about it. That old adage, be careful what you wish for. We wanted everybody out. We got everybody out. Who did we get? We got the guy that was the worst possible person we could have got, period. I don't think it could be any worse than it is with James Gunn. I don't think it could.
Honestly.
Because any other executive, number one, wouldn't be on social media crowing about it all the time, making everybody feel, like crap and literally fighting with fans on a daily basis.
Who says I'm getting rid of Gal? Nick's Wonder Woman 3 fires Patty Jenkins. Who says I just changed my mind? What are you
Who said Wonder Woman? Who said Wonder Woman's not in my first phase? well, you kinda. I mean, Darth Plato says he'd rather have George Clooney than Robert Pattinson. I agree. I think Clooney would be better. I think I actually would love if James Gunn followed through and made Clooney the Batman of his DCU. If he does that, I promise you, I'm going to say that right here on this stream. If he makes George Clooney the Batman going forward in his DCU, I will go to the theater and watch every single one of those movies. I'm making you a promise. I will go see them all. Because that would show a level of commitment on his part that I'm just not seeing. This guy doesn't know what he wants to do. He wants to out Snyder, but all his ideas are absolutely ridiculous. So you made your bed, Gun. Now you have to lie in it. You ended the Flash movie with Clooney. I expect to see Clooney as Batman now moving forward. That's what I want. I don't want you to recast Batman. You shouldn't be allowed to recast Batman. You wanted Clooney. Unless Clooney dies before you get a chance to do the Brave and the Bold, the Batman movie that Muschietti is allegedly directing, I don't want any excuses. I want Clooney to be the Batman moving forward. Period.
Wow. Yeah.
I mean, if that's what he chose, that's what he went with. It could have been anybody. It could have been Keaton. It could have been Affleck. It could have been Kilmer. It could have been Christian Bale. But what did he do? He gave us Clooney at the end. And all for laughs, all for jokes while people are choking on their popcorn. That's great. I got news for you, Gunn. Most of the kids that went to see this movie don't even know who George Clooney was. So the joke went right over their head. The TikTok generation has no idea who Clooney is. So you just decapitated the demographic by ending the movie that way. Yeah. Fans of DC will know and will understand and will get the joke and will goof a little bit. That was funny. But most of the modern audience isn't going to know.
Yeah, the younger kids that you're trying to go after.
And none of them are even going to care. So so to them, they're probably, that's the new Batman.
Yeah. They're like, he's really old.
It celebrates the Snyderverse by killing off Superman as a baby. Yeah, baby Kal-El is dead. Thank you, James Gunn. Appreciate it.
Wasn't that in place before, though? Before James Gunn came?
Yeah, but remember, Cavill was supposed to be in the movie.
I see. Oh, yeah, right. Sorry.
Even if he killed baby Kal-El in one of the timelines,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Not buying that because we've seen two different Super Aquaman in live action already, and since the multiverse includes every DC TV and film, the Momoa being Aquaman everywhere doesn't make sense. I agree. He doesn't. It doesn't make sense. They should have brought that Justin Hartley Aquaman back from Smallville, to have a small part in it.
I thought
You
he
know,
was Green Arrow. Wasn't Justin Hartley Green
he
Arrow?
was Aquaman before he was Green Lantern.
Oh, right.
Before he was Green Arrow, because the creators of Smallville did a pilot
show
for Aquaman. It was an Aquaman pilot, and that didn't go
Oh, that's
anywhere.
right.
They only did the one episode, and then they cast him as Green
As
Arrow
Green
in
Arrow.
Smallville. Yeah,
I forgot about that. And they put on the DVD, one of the seasons, they put like the pilot episode for that Aquaman show on it.
yep,
Yeah.
yep.
Uh-huh.
Gun. I stayed at a Holiday Inn Express last night. Oh my god. Did y'all notice the last scene of The Flash? Ezra's face looked kind of off. Yeah,
I noticed that
CGI.
throughout the whole film.
It was CGI.
It was all like really bad CGI deepfake stuff.
Yeah, it was all CGI. Superman Returns was boring, and they turned Superman into a deadbeat stalker. Yes. Underwear on the outside. Exactly. Underwear on the outside. Let's see.
Yeah.
I just want one more Henry Cavill Superman movie. That's all I want. You know what, Luke? I think I can agree with you. At least give me one more where it's a proper send-off. At this point, I wouldn't even be. Remember when Sil and Mikey were reporting Apass on the possibility of when DeLuca and Abdi were still running the show, and the idea was to let Zach make one more Justice League movie to wrap it up. He wasn't going to be able to do Justice League 2 and 3. He was just going to have to wrap it all up in one more movie.
Mm-hmm.
I would have been fine with that. Totally would have been fine with it because it would have been a 4-hour epic. You already know.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
It would have been a 4-hour epic.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Batman says, come on, ZodWriter. We know you love Patty Jenkins. Yeah, I do. I love me some Patty Jenkins. She's a
here's the thing about her. It's like she did like a show on TNT with Chris Pine. Surprisingly, not surprisingly.
Oh yeah. That's a shocker. Wow.
Called I Am the Night, and it was a really good show. It was like based off of a true story. But I don't know if I think she co-wrote it with her husband. But it was decently like written. So whenever I heard about Wonder Woman 84 with her like writing part of it, and then the Jeff Johns thing made me like a little shaky. I was like, oh God, why him? But then only to find out that the worst parts were from her.
Well, I hope. I hope that Patty Jenkins finally got her wish fulfillment with Chris Pine, because she loves her some Chris Pine.
She loves Chris
She
Pine.
was bringing Chris Pine back for every movie, no matter every movie she does. She's bringing back Chris Pine. She was begging Paramount to let her do the next Star Trek just so she could work with Chris Pine again. It's a Chris Pine thing. And she's not even a Star Trek fan. She hates that shit. But she wanted to work with Pine. So what are you going to do? She loves her some
God.
Chris Pine.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Patty Jenkins. What are you?
Patty Jenkins. Man.
I wonder how her husband feels about her deeply installed crush on Chris Pine. That's what I want to know. I wonder what those dinner conversations are like.
Hey.
Chris Pine is Superman to her, essentially. That's her Superman. Chris. And Chris Pine, his name is like her passwords for everything. So if you want to get into her stuff, Chris Pine, Steve Trevor, yeah. Just variants on roles that Chris Pine has played. Captain Kirk. It's just kind of like, she's just so in love with him. That's how she remembers all her passwords, because they're all a Chris Pine derivative.
Oh my God! Wait, I don't know if she's still like attached to direct, but wasn't she and Gal supposed to do a Cleopatra movie?
Mm-hmm.
I remember like hearing. I don't know how accurate this rumor was though, that they were gonna get Chris Pine to play like Mark Antony or something.
Yeah,
And
I heard that. Yeah.
I was like, oh my god, literally, like she
He was,
will not
they
leave
were
him
gonna have
alone.
she was gonna have to darken his hair, but that would have been fine because that would have just
Yeah.
attributed to another one of her deep dark fantasies. So a dark haired Chris Pine. I mean, imagine if Chris Pine was Superman. Patty Jenkins would want to be in control of that franchise. She'd be like, yo, I'll direct Justice League. Yeah, let me do Justice League.
Oh my god, it's
Oh
like
my
any
god.
movie she wants to make. One condition, I have only one. Chris
Chris
Pine
Pine,
has to be in it.
he's in all of her contracts moving forward. I mean,
Man, I wasn't expecting going down the Patty Jenkins. Like,
yeah, I know. Thanks, Bat Dan, for the Patty Jenkins rabbit hole. I mean, it's just another layer of conversation. She's gonna be like the woman that created that AI replica of her friend that passed away. She's gonna create an AI version of Chris Pine and be talking to it every night. That's gonna be like her.
It's gonna be like her, but it'll be called him instead. Like, something like that.
He/him. It'll be like a loose sequel to her, the Spike Jonze movie, and she'll kind of, and it'll all be, but Chris Pine will be the AI instead of Scarlett Johansson.
Yeah.
Darth Plato says recasting Cavill is like a sports team trading away a stud half Hall of Famer in return for a player that merely looks like the Cavill, sort of. Yeah. Helen Slater back as Supergirl. Well, we did get a little bit of Helen Slater in The Flash. She was in the bad CGI PS2 cameo standing right next to Christopher Reeve. They were looking at something. I don't know what they were there for, but they were just, what were they looking at? Can somebody please explain?
Were they looking at like Adam West that was across the way for like a split second? Like,
right. Adam West
like,
was over there, and then you had the black and white version of the Flash walking by, and you had,
not running, walking by. Could Christopher Reeve and Supergirl see Nicolas Cage fighting against the giant spider? Oh, maybe that's what they were looking at the whole time. We just didn't know it.
Yeah, I don't know. They were looking at something. Gunn is idiotic, Apass. Absolutely.
Oh, 100%.
Ask Clown Gunn. That's who would do it. Yes. It's not about Cavill. It's not about Ben or Gal. It's about Zach. They are attached to Zach. They're more than his actors, and Gunn doesn't like that. That's true. They are. They're attached to Zach. Everybody that works with Zach is attached to Zach. Look at all of us. We're just fans, and we're attached to Zach, right? We're attached to Zach. Why? Because of the way Zach carries himself, because of the way Zach interacts with us, because of the way Zach is, a humbleness that he displays that is very uncommon for Hollywood.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Gunn's new Superman actor is Teen Wolf all over again when they got Jason Bateman for the sequel instead of Michael J. Fox because they supposedly looked alike.
Ooh.
I don't know. I think Corn Sweat looks a lot more like Cavill than Jason Bateman does Michael J. Fox, but that's just me. I think Corn Sweat is actually a dead ringer for Henry Cavill. Like, Corn Sweat could actually dress up and go out and pretend to be Henry Cavill, and in some parts of the world, he could probably get away with it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just the reality of the situation. That's good casting if you want the audience to think, of Henry Cavill. But the problem is this actor is going to be compared to everything that not only everything Henry Cavill did, but everything Henry Cavill would have done had he continued as Superman. See, this is the problem Corn Sweat's going to have. See, Brandon Routh didn't have that problem because Christopher Reeve was done. Christopher Reeve was incapacitated. He was in a wheelchair. There was no way he was coming back as Superman. So
Yeah.
he wasn't gonna get the reason why his movie did that, because his movie just sucked. There was nothing to his movie. And they didn't give him anything really original to work with. And making Superman a creepy stalker, deadbeat dad doesn't really ingratiate you to the fan base. I'm sorry. It just doesn't work.
Not at all.
What are you going to do? What are we going to do with Superman? Something new we haven't done before. We can make him a deadbeat dad. Yeah, hey, that works.
That's it. That's the way to go. Yes.
Oh my God. I don't get it. And then how they tried to make the kid like Super Baby at the end.
Yes.
With putting the piano on top of the dude. Like I was like, okay, like we didn't know that was coming.
Right.
And whose idea was it to cast Kate Bosworth as Lois Lane?
I was just gonna say that.
She's furthest. She's the furthest thing from Lois Lane that you could ever have gotten. Oh my God!
It's just that weird. That movie is just a weird relic of
it. And it doesn't make you feel good either. It's it's one of those movies where you're just like, it feels like. You know what it kind of feels like, and maybe you'll get this reference too. It's like for being at a funeral for a relative that you knew of, a relative who was kind of like famous and did a lot of stuff and was cool, and so you kind of get so when you're talking to people, it's kind of like you're going over kind of like a greatest hits of things that this relative did, an aunt or an uncle or somebody who was, just prominent in your life or in everybody's life, and everybody loved this person. That's how Superman Returns felt to me. Like it was trying to hit so many nostalgia beats, but nobody cared because the execution was just off. Because this isn't 1978. And they were trying to uphold 1978 sensibilities in a movie that came out in 2006.
Post 9/11.
Yeah. For the post 9/11 era, it's kind of like and even some of the lines that he said in the movie were directly from 1978 too. And it just kind of, I wonder though, Apass, with all the hate that Snyder gets and all the hate we get as Snyder supporters and Snyder fans, how Superman Returns would do if it were made today. Because they all swear by Christopher Reeve. I mean, you were going back and forth with that one guy on Twitter. It's all about Christopher Reeve, right? Christopher Reeve's who they swear by. So what if, Superman Returns was not made in 2006, but made now? Would it have done better? Would it do better now?
That's a good question.
That to me is the big question, because what you're getting with Superman Legacy, I don't think is going to be like Superman Returns. It's going to be a different story, but it's going to have I think you're going to have a lot of Donner Superman in Superman Legacy.
Oh, 100%.
In fact, I would go as far as to say you probably have the Fortress of Solitude with the crystals, the same as what Brandon Routh and Christopher Reeve had. I wouldn't put it past James Gunn to somehow artificially AI or computer generate and bring back Marlon Brando as Jor-El to
I
connect
wouldn't.
it
Yeah.
to the Reeve era. I honestly I'm almost expecting it at this point.
Nothing surprises me with him, to be honest. Nothing. So I wouldn't put it past him. Yeah.
And Batan says that AI in these clips of your book really make it sound like a horror movie. I don't know with the way he's describing the executives. Yeah, it does with the tone of his voice. Yeah. I love the AI voice I'm using for the book. I really do, because it has that. It's like it knows when to enunciate certain things in different ways, and the tone, it like just comes off really cool. Like I'm really happy with it. Zod roasting the big wigs. Yeah, that's what we're doing. I don't want to go at fans. That's not what this is about. It's about the positivity of the movements. I'll give you a basic outline of what the book is. Positivity from the fan movements, trying to raise money for AFSP, trying to help, get Zach's vision finished. And the greedy studio, only concerned with their bonuses, only concerned with their bottom line, chasing after Marvel, not caring who they run over, not caring who they hurt, being so disrespectful to Zach during a time when he's trying to grieve for his daughter who passed away. I mean, you got it really, when I stop and I look at all of this from an outside perspective, I try to take myself out of it. And I look at it and I say to myself, this is horrible. This is the kind of thing that you realize that anybody sticking up for the studio at this point, anybody sticking up for Warner Brothers at all is an idiot. Why would you stick up for Warner Brothers when they're the greediest, most grimiest, just despicable studio on the planet? It is so horrible. It's a level of ineptitude that it just, I don't. And this is why I'm not surprised that they're letting Gunn do all of this, because it just fits the pattern of stupidity that we've had for all this time. It hasn't stopped. This has been going on since BVS, at least in terms of this. BVS was still in theaters when this was going on. This is what we're dealing with right now. We're dealing with a cover-up that has had lasting effects on where we are today. It all starts with Sujihara making that decision to throw Zach under the bus, to make it look like BVS underperformed so that they could justify going in a more happy and Marvel direction. That's why we're here. That this is what happened. That's what the end result was. And Zach's tragedy was a unfortunate incident for the studio, because that gave them an out without having to unceremoniously fire Zach, which is what they wanted to do. Because I can tell you right now, had Zach not had that family tragedy, you know how it would have went down? They would have used an excuse of BVS underperforming to replace Zack Snyder. And they would have fired him. And then they would have turned around and brought in Joss Whedon. And believe me, when BVS was in theaters, they were already full steam ahead at work on Justice League. So they would have knocked Snyder out midstream, installed whomever, and that just happened to be Joss Whedon. Oh, that part of the chapter is just a gem. The stuff I have on Joss Whedon. Oh my! When you guys hear that, I'm telling you, listen, I know that we have a lot of people that we go back and forth with. We have disagreements in terms of ideologies, hashtags, you name it. It's worldwide. We have all these things. But when it comes down to it, it's nothing compared to the greasy, grimy, despicable stuff that the studios do. I'm just putting it out there. You guys have no idea. It's so sick and twisted. It's downright evil. I mean, I'm not, Integrity 101 says, I left The Flash disappointed because my expectations were sky high. And I was hopeful they wouldn't be dumb enough to make some of the decisions they made, removing Cavill, not including Flash actors. Yeah, I don't know. Like we were saying, hopefully we get that director's cut.
That would be great.
That would be great. That might actually make it so that Apass and I rewatch the movie. Because I can honestly say that if I don't get a director's cut, I probably won't watch the movie again. Ever. Mm-hmm. Mikey Sutton says hi. And he also says he apparently wanted Cavill as Jor-El. Oh,
please tell me that's a joke. Please. Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Why are we acting like he's ancient? Like Robert Downey Jr. was literally around the same age when he started playing Iron Man. Like, give me an effing
older
break.
Wasn't he older? Even older than Cavill?
Yeah.
I mean, older. What? This is sad. This is just 40. Sad. He's ancient. He's 40, so he's ancient now.
Well, male
according
actor,
to the people that James Gunn likes, I mean, that is ancient, I guess.
That is ancient for him. You're right. But oh my god. Oh, please tell me that's a joke. Because that's really wacky if it's not.
And Cavill probably told James Gunn to piss off.
As he should.
I got an article coming out for Geekosity magazine really soon for Geekosity, an article coming out where I lay out all the reasons why Gunn is responsible for the Flash flopping.
Ooh, can't wait to read that one.
And I'm telling you right now, Gunn is responsible beyond a shadow of a doubt. He's responsible for all this, for all the stuff we've talked about, from all the crappy decisions he's made, to the primary one, of course, being the fact that the reboot was announced before all these other movies had a chance to come out. That makes no sense. You know what? You know when he was supposed to announce the reboot? Announce the reboot after Aquaman. And then you could say Blue Beetle is the first movie in your new slate.
Well, I mean, the fact that he like claimed Blue Beetle to be the first one, good luck with that making any money. Good luck.
Yeah, they're not going to make any money. Charles Briggs with the $5 super chat. Thank you, Charles. Says, I'm going to say something blasphemous, but Superman 78 is hella overrated. It has aged horribly, especially compared to Man of Steel. Just my opinion. I mean, what can I tell you? How can I argue with that? What am I going to say? Man of Steel looks like it was made yesterday.
Yes.
Superman 78 looks like a period piece.
It does. It does look like. Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Good luck saying that on Twitter, though. They'll come after you.
Charles. Charles, they will come for you, and they will be merciless.
They'll be triggered beyond belief.
The stuff that they're putting Apass through for some of the things that she's been saying is unbelievable. Apass is literally fighting off Christopher Reeve worshipers with a stick. She's literally got her stick and Wonder Woman lasso, and she's just like fighting them off. And it is a spectacle to see. It's unbelievable how misinformed and idiotic these people are. they can't be real. They've got to be bots. At this
They
point, I
have
feel
to
like
be.
we're all fighting with bots.
They have to be, because it's the audacity of saying move on, it's over. It's like, you're the one that still wants Christopher Reeve Superman.
You saw,
What are
you
talking
didn't you
about?
see, right? You're begging for a 1978 rehash when Bryan Singer gave that to you in 2006, and you didn't like that movie. I mean, they even gave you the Gene Hackman Lex Luthor. They gave you Kevin Spacey acted just the same with the what was it? The real estate scam.
Yeah.
I
Like,
mean, what I mean, what can James
what?
Gunn do? How can James Gunn do that? Like, what's James Gunn going to be able to do? Is James Gunn going to out Singer, Bryan Singer, for Superman Returns? I kind of think, that Bryan Singer and James Gunn have a little more in common.
They definitely do.
They're closer
they
together.
are.
They're closer together than Zack Snyder.
Oh, well, 100%. They are roommates in
Oh
a
yeah,
lot of things.
yeah, and they love those blue pajamas, and and those red trunks on the outside.
The
They
red Speedo
love that.
trunks, they
Oh
love
yes,
that. And
oh yes.
Gunn, I think, really wants to go for more of a thong look, personally. That's
Yeah,
what I think.
yeah. The thong look will work, and when especially when Corn Sweat really lets the sweat pour from those cheeks, you're gonna get some real bodybuilder worthy objectify me Superman kind of stuff going on there.
He'll make Joel Schumacher look tame.
Oh my God, yes, yes,
Damn.
yes.
Wow.
And Graphic Vandalism is asking for more book clips. Should I play a couple more book clips?
Yes.
I got
go ahead.
I got a couple more here that I could play. I've been releasing quite a few, so we'll play another clip from Pause Not Stop. This is the first clip from the. Well, this is. I guess I'll play this one. This one is about the Cell movement, the Cell ZSJL, Cell Snyderverse to Netflix. We'll play this clip real quick.
ZSJL to Netflix and Cell Snyderverse to Netflix movement is meant to be all-encompassing. What this means is that hashtags like Restore the Snyderverse, Make the Batfleck movie release, The Ayer Cut, Make Man of Steel 2, etc. are all included. If the Snyderverse goes to Netflix, these projects are theoretically possible and more likely than what some would have you believe. The primary goal around the Cell movement is to ensure that Zack Snyder has a productive home to complete Justice League 2 and 3, a work environment free of studio interference and ridiculously avoidable obstacles. Skywalker the Jedi and Leon of the New Geeks drafted the rules of engagement ROE not to discourage or belittle others. The rules are in place to prevent confusion with other hashtags that frankly ran their course and served their purpose. Restore the Snyderverse failed in its mission. Warner Brothers Discovery has no intention of bringing back the Snyderverse or Zack Snyder himself. An important question people still using the Restore hashtag need to ask themselves is, what is a better, more logical option? Since WBD has decided to run with Gunn and is fully invested in that direction, who is Restore the Snyderverse directed towards? The Cell movement is talking to Netflix or any third party interested in concluding Zack's 5-film arc in a very direct way. Netflix cannot restore what they did not have in the first place, only pick up what is left and continue the legacy positively while working symbiotically with a filmmaker they value. People are taking the dispute over hashtags entirely too seriously. Leon and Skywalker are not policing people on social media. They are distinguishing the Cell campaign from past efforts to give the Snyder fandom the best chance for success.
All right, so that's from Cell. That is, to kind of get people, trying to get people to understand a little bit as to why, there are rules of engagement and stuff. And I personally have no problem with it.
Me either.
I don't understand
why
all the
people
hate.
do. Oh. Jinx. We literally, yeah, I don't understand. Like, I don't get it. Why it triggers so many people, but it does. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't get it. It's our tagline for this show. for our
Should
show
it be
together.
called I Don't Get It?
I guess we should just every week it should just be I don't get it. episode 73. I don't get it. We're here. I don't get it. We're here. We're here because the studio made a bad decision in 2016 and it reverberated all the way to 2023. Could you imagine making that kind of a mistake that you've been feeling the effects of since? Talk about never living something down. Like, it's ridiculous.
Right.
Oh.
But here's the thing. They like really, when they choose a hill to die on, they really die on it.
Yeah. I mean, they've literally left money on the table. That Man of Steel 2 movie would have likely, that I showed the trailer for at the beginning of the stream, the Man of Steel 2 movie would have likely got them out of debt.
Oh my God, yeah. That alone. Yeah.
That's the movie that you were supposed to judge, you were supposed to base the Snyderverse on. If you put out Man of Steel 2 and it flopped, I'll tell you the truth right now. As big of a Snyder fan as I am, and as much of a supporter as I am, if they put out Man of Steel 2 and it flopped the way the Flash is flopping right now, I would agree, and I would say it's time to move on, because clearly the audience does not have a love for it. But you sticking, Henry Cavill in 3 seconds of a mediocre Black Adam after credit scene, and then expecting that movie to be the metric for whether or not the Snyderverse should continue is absolutely ludicrous. As much as I did love things about Black Adam, there were things that I enjoyed. Again, the JSA and the Cavill scene at the end. And speaking of Black Adam, I'm going to play a little clip. Since we do have Mikey Sutton in the chat, I'm going to play a Sil and Mikey clip from Pause Not Stopped that I have. This is another clip that I released online, and I think this is a good one. And this is for you, Mikey, since you and Sil were right, and people should have listened to you, but of course they didn't. So here we go.
Bill and Mikey Sutton heavily promoted Black Adam on their various weekly live streams. They encouraged everyone to set aside their differences when it came to the color of Superman's suit or the theme song playing for the short time Henry Cavill appeared on screen. Sil and Mikey were very much aware of the importance of Black Adam. 7 Bucks Productions were hinting at a Man of Steel sequel. That hinged on the success of Black Adam. Pam Abdy and Mike DeLuca were struggling behind the scenes to hold on to their creative control, while James Gunn waited in the wings with his plans to uproot everything.
Am I wrong? Am I saying anything that's not true?
No fake news here.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Am I saying anything that's fake? And the people are coming at me. That's the thing. I'm getting a lot of hate for these clips, but I don't even care, because it's giving people an idea of what to expect from the book. And Sean Franklin, I have not watched Transformers Rise of the Beast yet. I value my time.
Yeah, I mean, the first Transformers was good, but after that, I checked out.
Yeah. And that's how I know that Apass and I are kindred spirits, because I'm the same way. I went to see the second one, and there was so much going on in the second one that when I left the theater with such a headache that I never went back to the theater to watch another one again. That was it. I was done. Oh my God. Oh my goodness. It's incredible, Apass.
Yes.
The more I'm learning about the way you and I process movies, the more I realize that this show is just ordained by God. This is a show that's on a mission from God, not what James Gunn is doing. I don't know what James Gunn is talking about, but
I don't
you
know
know,
what God he's talking about, but
but but this is really, I mean, oh my God. Let's see here. There's another, people are asking for more clips. Let's see. I got another clip here I could play. Let me play. I guess I'll play the first clip where I misparaphrased our movie news, and then I'll play the corrected clip. So here's the first clip.
News lost all credibility when he decided to pass judgment on the Cell ZSJL and Cell Snyderverse to Netflix movement. He got upset after being rightly criticized for the way he downplayed Zack Snyder's signing of Skywalker the Jedi's poster. Zack Snyder wrote the words, "Snyderverse sell it." Skywalker had initially asked Zack to sign the poster using the campaign hashtags, but Snyder chose to write something unique that fully signified his support for Cell in a monumental way. Our Movie News actually had the gall to refer to the Cell movement as toxic and proclaim he would never use the hashtags again. Unfortunately, Our Movie News isn't the only reputable vlogger turned circus clown as a result of Skywalker's full circle bombshell. The rabbit hole goes deep and the turncoats hide in plain sight, similarly to that of certain groups within the previous Fandom campaigns Release the Snyder Cut and Restore the Snyderverse.
Now, that might have been a little bit harsh towards Our Movie News, considering, when I went back and watched the clip. And I kind of understand now why he was mad at me when he heard that clip. He was really mad. He went at me quite a bit. He's like, it's illegal what you're doing. I never said that. Okay. I went back and forth with him on Twitter for a while. And then to make a long story short, I basically decided to go back and rewatch his video. I had to put myself through that painful experience again. Rewatch his video and then change things around a little bit. And this is what I ended up doing. Now, this clip, the revamped version of the clip that I'm about to play for you, I sent him first out of courtesy before I released it publicly to make sure he was okay with it and to make sure he understood that I didn't want to leave anything out because I was trying to be as historically accurate as possible. And he was okay with it. He didn't. Once I did this, he's had nothing to say. He actually thanked me for changing it. So here's the changed clip, and this is what will actually appear in Pause Not Stopped. Here it is.
News unfortunately decided to personally move away from the Cell ZSJL and Cell Snyderverse to Netflix hashtags. He believes, as of the time of this writing, that they have become quite toxic recently. Our Movie News pointed out that he was not talking about everybody in the movement when he used the word toxic and was referring only to Cell leaders Leon of the New Geeks and Skywalker the Jedi. Zack Snyder's signing of Skywalker the Jedi's poster is a bombshell moment for the Cell movement. Zack Snyder wrote the words, "Snyderverse sell it." Skywalker had initially asked Zack to sign the poster using the campaign hashtags, but Snyder chose to write something unique that fully signified his support for Cell in a monumental way. This event has had many people debating since it occurred, and that will likely continue for the foreseeable future. This passage was changed due to a previous error on my part that incorrectly paraphrased what Our Movie News had said in his YouTube video. This book aims to be a true account of events, and so any time I can correct an error, it only makes the writing more accurate.
So there you go.
stand up guy, Zod.
I mean, Our Movie News talked all his crap. And then when I released the second clip, crickets. He was cool because now he knows he's not dealing with somebody that's just trying to smear people, trying to make people look bad. Because if that was the kind of book I was writing, I would have been done a long time ago. Because a lot of people hate me. And there's a lot of people that I disagree with. So this book would have been done if it was just about me going at people, clapping back at people. But that's not what
Yeah.
this book is about. This book is supposed to be historically accurate. So that means I have to be fair even to people I don't like or even to people I disagree with. And I genuinely hope that our movie news gained a little bit of respect from me after that and can now look at the book objectively when it comes out and understand that I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to be going at him or going at anybody for that matter if they didn't say it. Now, if they said something stupid publicly and I quoted them or paraphrased them for something stupid that they said or did, that's fair game because it's public. So that's what people have to realize. As long as the stuff that I'm getting is public or I can verify it, I can say whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and you can tell by the book, I'm not making any of this up. I'm not pulling it out of anywhere. It's all researched. It's all, there. And that's what we're going for here. That's why I say I think it has potential to unite the fandom, and it might even end up being 2 books. Integrity 101 says, Apass, as a Chris Reeve nerd, I am officially triggered. Where do I send the hate mail?
I'll send you my address, I guess. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. I love it though. You are fighting them off in such a Wonder Woman like fashion. You are just like it's more of like a brawler kind of position that you're in now, where you just have to like keep batting them down because they just keep popping up. It's like whack-a-mole. You just boop boop boop.
Right. Literally. It's like no matter what, I there's just another one. And then they keep popping up.
They just keep coming up. Yep. I don't get it. Yep.
I don't get it.
And Graphic Vandalism says, I don't get it. It's some good branding. In my opinion, I'd go with it. Yeah, I think that's what we're going to do. I think it's going to be I don't get it. It's going to be the weekly I don't get it because we definitely don't get it. 2025 Superman Legacy will still not getting it. Yeah, no, it's not. It's terrible. It's terrible. And nobody gets it now. We're spot on. October, or should it be called Rocktober? Yeah,
that would have been good marketing.
Yeah, I think Sil and Mikey really, they don't get enough credit for that because they were spot on about Black Adam. I mean, They not only told you what you were going to see in Black Adam, but they described it exactly right down to Henry Cavill coming out of the smoke. And not only that, they kept trying to tell people, they kept trying to hammer it home. You got to go see this movie. If you want more of the Snyderverse, you've got to go see this movie. The studio is looking at it as, if you don't see this movie, you don't want the Snyderverse. You don't care about Cavill. Support Cavill, see this movie. And they were right.
Mm-hmm.
The mission continues. ZodWriter and Apass. Yeah, the mission is continuing. James Gunn is working for himself only. Yep. Nobody called out Gunn for saying he was on a mission from God. These clowns certainly would if Zack did. Oh my God, imagine if Zack Snyder said something like he's on a mission from God over these stupid cape movies.
Dude, he would be skinned alive. Oh my God.
Who cares about laws in his country? Our movie news is soft. Greeks. Yeah, our movie news is soft, but like I said, I still wanted to be accurate. So I still wanted to make sure that what he said, because now he can't go back and say that I put something in the book that wasn't true about him, because anybody can go to his YouTube channel, watch his video, and hear that he said exactly what I said he said in the book. So see, that's what I'm going for. I want everybody to be able to literally independently verify everything I say in this book. And you might not be able to do that with some of the executive stuff, because I've got people who I'm talking to that used to work for the studio that are giving me that information. So that information is not going to be able to, I don't think a lot of that information is going to be independently verifiable by people, but I can verify it because I know who I'm talking to. So that's the point. But most of the stuff that I'm saying, you'll be able to independently verify, including this. I want to play this clip because I think you should all hear this clip because this is a nice clip. This is a feel-good clip. I enjoyed this clip a lot. Here you go.
Mayor Burnett annoyingly looked at John Campea as they discussed the likelihood of Warner Brothers releasing the Snyder Cut. John had no faith. As a matter of fact, he was pretty set in his belief that not only was the project never happening, but the Snyder Cut as a movie did not even exist. Robert was more logical and less religious about the entire subject. My only real question, Robert thoughtfully asked to John, is, who's going to pay for it? The special effects were a bone of contention for many internet vloggers, and the conflicted reports about actual costs to finish the film were inconsequential to Zack Snyder himself, when a frustrated Snyder, having finally had enough, posted a photograph on Vero True Social of the literal Snyder Cut film canisters, with a caption that proudly reads, "Is it real? Does it exist? Of course it does."
Accuracy.
Mm-hmm.
You see, and even Robert Meyer Burnett reached out to me over that clip, said, "I love this." Accuracy. You see, and that's it. It's not about my feelings. It's not about what people's feelings are. It's what actually happened. Facts don't care about feelings. That's one thing I do get.
Yeah.
Facts don't care about feelings. They don't care how you feel about Henry Cavill. Henry Cavill was replaced by a doppelganger, was replaced by a clone. They cloned Henry Cavill and made this guy. The studio cloned Henry Cavill and said, "Well, we're not going to want to pay you in a few years. So what we're going to do, we're going to clone you. We're going to take your DNA. We're going to clone you. We're going to raise this clone up. And then we're going to replace you with your clone and pay him a fraction of what we pay you." There you go.
Yep.
They'll get him to play Henry Cavill, the brother of Henry Cavill's character from the Mission Impossible movies.
Oh my God.
They'll bring Corn Sweat in as the brother, since Henry Cavill Henry Cavill's character killed.
I think he was
Mission Impossible. So they'll bring in Corn Sweat as his younger brother, and have him, This guy's basically going to make the rest of his career off of Henry Cavill. Nothing original. Everything Henry, because you look like him, people are going to hire you for roles that they can't afford Henry Cavill to do.
Wow.
Absolutely, he's still garbage. I agree. But that's just, again, I'm, all about accuracy. So I don't really care what his opinions are, as long as me having it in the book is accurate. Because again, the quote that I ended up actually playing that was more accurate doesn't make him look any more favorable. It's just more accurate to what he said versus what I said originally, which personally I liked the first clip that I put out. And if I was a snake, and if I was just looking to make people look bad, I would have left that in, and I'd have just went with it and said, whatever. It's close enough to what you said. I may have, misconstrued the fact that you weren't talking about everyone. You weren't talking about the entire movement, but, that's the way I took it when I first heard it, which is why I had it in there like that. And I was wrong, and I was able to admit that. So that's something that people will take note and will understand that. That's why I keep trying. I'm arguing with this one guy on Twitter. His name's Darkness Under the Wind. He is the ultimate hater. This dude comments on everything that I post. And yeah, I'm giving your troll self a shout out on this channel. And I won't block you because guess what? All your negative stuff is great. Even when he's negative, no matter what I say. And I'm telling you, I keep telling him, I'm like, dude, when the book comes out, you're going to feel differently because you're going to see how wrong you were because the book is going to speak for itself. I love it now because I'm just, dropping a minute here, 50 seconds there. What I'm giving people now is snippets. I'm not giving people anything now. I'm just giving them snippets to see what, so they get an idea of what the book is. But at the end of it, the whole thing is going to be quite a journey for people to go on. It's going to be, because I'm covering everything from all the way back then, BVS. I go, and as a matter of fact, I go even further back, the start of the DCEU with when Christopher Nolan appointed Snyder for DC for Man of Steel, and I talk all the way to that through all the movements, all the way up to the point where we are now. I've even got some stuff in the book talking about specific campaigns that were done for different movements, like when a bunch of people who were running the Restore the Snyderverse campaign, when they did their Times Square billboard for Restore the Snyderverse, those people reached out to me on Instagram and wanted to make sure that I was including that in the book. And one of the guys was kind enough to not only send me pictures and documents and screenshots of conversations, but he also, filled me in on who was involved and different things, little details that I wouldn't have. Like I knew about it, but I did, and I mentioned it in the book in passing. But now that I have all these details, I can elaborate on it and go even further and talk about it even more. So that's what this book is. It's about factual stuff, and it's more about the fandom than it is, the studio. But ultimately, the studio is the villain of the story, and that's the nutshell that I'm trying to get people to understand with these clips. The studio is the villain of the story, not the fans. The fans are trying to raise money for suicide prevention. The fans are just trying to get Zach's vision out there. The fans are not creating the problem. The fans didn't create the problem. The fans are dealing with the problem. So that's what, that's what I want people to understand. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping even the haters will get that, Yep, I don't get it. Presented by ZodWriter and Apass. We are definitely going to be doing that. I think that's what this show will be from now on. Will be another episode of I Don't Get It, because I don't get it. We definitely don't get it. Okay, Keo Daikin is asking the question, who set the fire at Warner Brothers Studio today? Well, if you ask certain people on Twitter, they're blaming the Snyderverse fans. They're saying that Snyderverse fans went crazy and are mad at Warner Brothers and they're setting fires at the studio. There's real accusations going on. It's not even a joke. I've seen it. But I don't know. I don't know who started the fire. I honestly think Warner Brothers is deleting evidence and burning up reels. And they probably burned the 4-hour Muschietti cut. Yeah. They were having a bonfire, so we never get to see that R-rated Supergirl footage. We never get to see that Cavill footage. Flash movie didn't even use the opportunity for Keaton to interact with Ben Affleck compared to No Way Home, which actually delivered. Yeah. Why didn't we get that? I don't even think we were going to get that, though, to be honest with you. I don't think that was ever in the cards.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think so.
I don't know.
Unless
it's hard to say. Yeah, unless it was something that's in the 4-hour cut that we'll never see. I don't know. Gunn was trying to do a buy one get one free deal. He basically told Henry Cavill, look, I don't want you to play Superman, but I got a role boy, do I got a plum roll for you.
Dude, oh my god, this makes so much sense now. It totally does. It totally does. Oh my god, because I remember, well, are we really supposed to trust anything Gunn says though? But like I remember him saying, I have another rule in mind for Henry. I swear to God, if he had the gall to say, I want you to be Jor-El. Dude.
I got this idea for you, and you are gonna love it, Henry. Now, Henry,
Oh,
look.
he's such an idiot.
Now, Henry, look. You're about to turn 40, and that's pretty old in my book. So what we're gonna do right now is we're gonna put you in an age-appropriate role. I'm gonna make you Jor-El, and then I'm gonna get this mini me version of you, David Cornsweat. I'm gonna bring him in, and he's gonna be the new Superman. What do you think about that? Can you rock with that, Henry? Can we get you in the DCU as our Jor-El? And Henry Cavill probably looked up at him, laughed at him, and walked out of the office.
See, I was gonna go a little bit more like dark with him, like just like literally staring at him and then flipping him the bird and walking away.
I mean, Henry Cavill, I don't know how Henry Cavill keeps his composure. I would have been, at this point, I would have been like really tearing up the office, throwing chairs. Like, wait a minute, you just told me, ripping the doors off the hinges. You literally just told me that I was going to be Superman again. I literally just came out a couple weeks ago. What's the problem? I'm in, I'm out. What is this? Now you're telling me you want me to play Russell Crowe. I'm out. I don't get it. I don't get it.
I don't either.
The ones who fought for Snyder Cut and ended up shilling for WB and Gunn have exposed themselves. You know what? I'm struggling, Ray, because the problem is that the fandom is so divided that a lot of people, at least on Twitter and other social media platforms, what I'm seeing, and I'm wondering if you're seeing this too, Apass, where the fandom is so divided that they don't even that a lot of these people don't even realize they're on the same side.
Yeah.
Like, I'm seeing stuff from people, but the only difference is the hashtags that they're using.
Yes.
But they're all saying the same thing, but the division is there because of the hashtag.
Literally, I get comments on my posts from people saying, you love Gunn, you support Gunn. I'm like, when in the hell have I ever said I supported James Gunn? Like, show me evidence of this. I've never said that. Never, ever, ever. Or like, saying things along the lines of like, oh, you're caping for WBD and boo. It's just like, you don't know what the frick you're talking about, dude. So shut up. Sit down. Like, I didn't ask for your opinion. Like, at all.
Yeah, I mean, we're not, I'm not, and I'm over it. I'm not trying to fight with anybody. I'm completely over it. At this point, what I like to do now is, I don't know if you've noticed, Dave Pass, but what I like to do is I like to go on Twitter, retweet your stuff, and then I go, and if I drop a clip or whatever, and then I'll get my ass off of Twitter.
Yeah.
I don't even want to be on there. I don't want to argue. I don't care what you say. These people, to me, it's all just, I'm so over it. I mean, me and Austin were going back and forth with this one guy the other day that was trying to make the case that that Cell and Leon were not Leon and Sky were not the ones that came up with the
saw that.
Sell Snyderverse to Netflix. And he had somebody who had in 2021 who had made a tweet where he said they should sell it to Netflix, and then he actually used a hashtag, but he spelt it differently, but he sells Snyderverse to Netflix. It was similar, but it wasn't what Cell and Leon Leon and Sky. I don't know why I keep saying Cell and Leon, but it wasn't what the two of them were doing. And what me and Austin were trying to point out was that those two hashtags, it's a package deal. It sells ZSJL to Netflix, sells Snyderverse to Netflix. It's two hashtags because the algorithm only recognizes two hashtags. When you put any more than two in there, it kind of dilutes it. You can put three, but it's risky because the algorithm really is only reliable to pick up two. So we were going back and forth with this guy. This guy was trying to convince us that, that Sky and Leon are frauds because of the hashtags. And it was just so diluted. And it's like, okay, well, where was the following? And then this guy even used some other stupid hashtag like buy Snyderverse Netflix or something stupid. He had a couple of, he had a bunch of different things in there. It was one of those real wacky type of tweets that, it makes sense why it didn't go anywhere back then. But yeah, I mean, you get all kinds on there. Everybody is so into discrediting people when they're trying to do something good. So it's like people that want, this is why I don't understand, people that want the Snyderverse are being tone deaf when it comes to the Cell movement. They don't want nothing to do with Cell. They think that they don't believe in it. They don't, but yet it looks more and more likely that Cell is actually going to happen, especially with the information that Sky just dropped.
Yeah.
And it's definitely not going to happen over at WBD.
No. Mm-mm.
So I'm not understanding the pushback from people that still want the Snyderverse. That's the thing that I struggle with the most on social media. I don't get it.
I don't get it. Yeah.
Oh my God. ZodWriter is the real one who provides the actual factuals. Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to provide actual factuals, and I'm glad that people in the chat are appreciating these clips as well. Graphic Vandalism says, well, brother, I really like all the clips you played, and I'm really happy you finally got a little we finally get a little peek into it. Yeah. Well, that's what the whole point is, and I'm going to be releasing clips up to the actual book coming out itself. In fact, since we're on a roll talking about the Cell ZSJL, the Netflix, I think I'll play the El Necron clip. You remember this one?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Made some phone calls to Ink to the People in an effort to see if the good Austins' Sell Snyderverse to Netflix artistically pleasing t-shirt designs could be used to raise money for AFSP. Necron was amazed, excited and motivated when Ink to the People returned one of his phone calls with the approval from Zack Snyder's people to go ahead with the good Austins' designs. The caveat was they were only permitted to use Cell Snyderverse and Cell ZSJL. For legal reasons, Netflix could not be referenced. The outcome was still a very positive one and meant that the Cell movement was recognized and endorsed by Zack Snyder. El Necron noted that Zack's people could have said no, and that possibility made the Cell campaign a bit shaky because confirmation from Zack reinforced a level of credibility that would be difficult to achieve without Snyder's blessing.
That's something I had started thinking about too, Apass. Could you imagine if they had gone to Ink to the People for those shirt, to get the approval for the shirt design, and Zack's people said no?
Yeah.
They would not have been, the Cell movement would have been over right then.
Mm-hmm.
Because you would not have had anything to stand on, because how can you promote something that Zack himself is not in support of?
Yeah.
All doing it on his behalf. So that that was that Necron moment was a big moment. I think
Very pivotal.
and again, it's another thing that gets completely overlooked by all these idiots. They keep telling us that Cell is not a real thing. Yeah. Corn Sweat will probably end up starring in The Witcher. Oh my God, Rel!
God,
I'm dead right now. Yeah, I can see, because Hemsworth is probably only going to do it for one season. I think Rel is spot on. They're going to be there. They're going to reboot The Witcher. I mean, like, we got a young. Not only do we got a younger Cavill, but we got a Cavill that's easier to work with, and we don't have to pay him as much. And we can tell him to do whatever we want him to do.
oh my God.
Oh, this guy's going to get all of Henry's leftovers.
Oh my God.
We got $5 super chat from Charles Briggs. Thank you, Charles. Zod and Apass, when NBC Universal buys WBD, do you think they will double down on the stupidity of Zaslav and Gunn, or make smart decisions and save DC?
I don't want to put my faith in another studio/corporation to do the right thing, to be honest with you. I think we were all just like, I mean, I don't know.
I don't know. I don't really care what they do, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
To tell you the truth, that at this point, it's like one bad corporation after another. It's just the same story all around. Honestly, I think WB is cursed.
Yeah, I think so too. Especially when it comes to DC. I think Nolan like avoided the curse somehow, but
yeah, well,
and of course the three movies
they gave Nolan control and let Nolan do what he wanted to do. Because as you know, nobody tells Nolan what he can and can't do. He's Christopher Nolan. He tells them what he's going to do, and that's what we were hoping. That's the kind of role we were hoping that Zack Snyder would get. But there were too many fanboys on social media crying about how Superman. Well, actually, you know what? Let me play one more clip from Let me play one more clip from Pause Not Stopped, and then you and I will wrap this up. Apass. Let me just play one more clip here, and one more preview clip, and we'll wrap it up. So, put your final questions and comments in the chat. This is going to be the last clip I'm playing from the book. Apass and I are going to wrap the show up after this. So check this clip out.
Review excerpt from ZodWriter's upcoming book, Paused Not Stopped. The studio was in extreme panic over several scathing social media responses to Batman v Superman. Twitter was ablaze with comments about murdered childhoods and the desecration of DC lore. Something had to be done. The only problem was BVS was on track to make $1 billion. That kind of theatrical hit cannot be ignored, unless the public is unaware of the film's success. Warner Brothers Studio CEO Kevin Sugihara called an emergency meeting, and what happened next is despicable and legendary both at the same time. Paused, Not Stopped, the true story of release, the Snyder Cut and Restore the Snyderverse is coming soon.
Murdered childhoods and the desecration of DC lore. What do you think about that, Apass?
I'm speechless. Oh my God.
Those are the kinds of comments that existed with regards to BVS at the time. These were the things that were freaking the studio out. This is the stuff that had Sugihara panicking, because he's like, this is not how we gonna do this if the audience is not behind us. But they were dealing with a vocal minority, but they wanted the Marvel money. So it is clear there is an agenda to run WBD into the ground. Someone powerful must want to buy up WBD at yard sale prices. Yes.
Wow. Yeah, I remember people saying that about Batman vs Superman too. Like, which makes sense whenever the first SnyderCon happened, and Zach was like, You're living in a fucking dream world. Wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
Legendary. Wow.
All right. Well, you know what? Apass, we've been going for over 2 hours. So
Oh yeah.
I think we should kind of wrap this up.
Mhm.
And we'll be back soon with a new one. Any final thoughts?
Thank you, everyone, for tuning in with us and, speaking your thoughts in the chat. Like, it's always nice to
Oh yeah, the
commune with
chat's been
everyone.
very, very interactive today. We've had a lot of comments. It's been
Yes.
very nice.
Yes, very nice. Yep.
And I can guarantee you that Apass and I are going to be back for more. The official renaming of the show will be "I Don't Get It," and we'll definitely do more in the very near future. We're trying to get to like a regular kind of steady kind of thing, but it just depends on scheduling and time, and that's really about it. So thank you everybody for being here. Thank you for joining us. And even though we don't get it, we'll be back again soon. Later.
Night.